Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
I really like this pick a lot, Freddie. You're not going to make me, like...
You're not putting me in a corner.
Because you already tried to start at the beginning of this show telling me I didn't like the Will Campbell pick, which I did. So the only drawback here is a difficult first name to type.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Thanks, Fred.
Definitely need more frothing at the mouth counter arguments from the former fattest man in town.
I just want to state it for the record. Now I'm getting made fun of for not arguing enough.
Right.
And also for being skinny.
Win, Paul.
I don't mind the skinny. I was called a baby. I was told to take my ball and go home, if I recall.
You're a big baby.
And once again, I was right. So tired of being right.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it too because the Patriots have been 4-12.
Deuce, you wanted to get rid of Tom Brady. All right.
You invited this
The
era.
Patriots are 4-12 because of you.
I want one young edge.
I'm with Deuce.
Too much.
He
I'm
is
with
so
Deuce.
sick of taking
Yeah,
offensive players.
Snaps for Deuce.
I'm not even.
Snaps for Deuce.
And I'm with him.
Snaps for Deuce.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is day 3 of the NFL draft. It is Deuce, Evan, Paul, myself. We're going to be here for a couple hours today. Patriots have the 4th pick in this current round, the 4th round. So we're going to be right at it. I think the reviews are in, and I'll speak for myself. I thought they had a good day yesterday.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I do too. I mean,
I think the reviews in general are overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
it's my favorite part of the draft is when they're like, here are your 4 guys. Now you can really dig in on them. Watching some of them last night. Henderson, man, he's just, I think, lean, mean, big play machine. That guy. I mean, what a fun player to watch. I also love that he wore 32. It's just like it's a real running back number. 32 is available, so maybe we can talk to D-Mac and see if he'd be okay with that, but I'd love to see. Bring 32 back, get it on a running back. But and I just say, too, on Wilson, who I didn't really watch a lot of. I mean, he's a center, but what a big dude, big athletic dude. Really like the promise of him. That's always been a spot. You know, David Andrews is really good, but, you know, he always felt a little bit undersized. And, I mean, just the combination of athleticism and size. I mean, he looks a little bit like Onwenu. Like, it's just got that square build. So he's a really promising guy, really interesting. And we talk so much about the offensive line. Just to have some promise there in the middle, it's encouraging.
Well, it seems right now, all of a sudden, there's some depth there at the offensive line.
Something to play with a little bit.
Yeah, there's something to play with here, and hopefully they sort it out quickly so we can get those best 5 on the field together as much as possible. So when September comes around, they're playing as a unit.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the fact that they feel like Wilson can at least compete potentially at guard. Yeah, I think he's a center, probably long-term. That's what Elliot Wolf said last night, was that they see his long-term future most likely at center. But if he can play guard, then great. You know, that's great flexibility. And you mentioned that he was kind of Georgia's 6th offensive lineman 2 years ago. Last year he started, and the year before that he was their top backup on the interior. So he did practice at all 3 spots on the inside. So maybe there's a little bit more flexibility there than I initially thought. But I think in general with the draft, you just really like how they've played the board. I think they've had a much better feel for the board this year than they did last year. And I think it all kind of starts with the fact that they took Will Campbell at the top allowed them to not reach on a tackle on day 2. Yeah. So they weren't kind of chasing their tail at that position for the rest of the draft. So we get to the point now where, you know, some people might have been a little bit surprised about taking a running back that early, but he was the best player on the board. So they just took the running back. You know, they wanted to take a running back at some point, and they made the pick there and took the running back over a wide receiver because, you know, the rest of the wide receivers didn't really go until the 3rd round. So you would have been at that point, you know, drafting a little bit, you know, overdrafting at that position. So I just really like how it feels like they have a much better feel for the board and aren't reaching on any of these picks and have been pretty good about that.
Yep.
And that was a phrase that I heard a lot late last night on the ride home before the local shows sort of ended and the national guys came in. And then I heard it again this morning. You know, people talking about staying true to the board. Whereas they felt like last year they were a little bit scattered. So I do think that, and it's kind of funny. I felt like this year might have been a little bit more difficult to stay to whose board, because I think the boards probably varied greatly because of the stuff that we've been talking about the whole draft process. But I do feel like the guys they took were in rounds that most people thought they would go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
yeah.
you like when you hear things about other teams being interested in the players that you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know that sounds funny, like, what do you care? You should have strength in your convictions. But isn't it, you know, would you rather have Sean McVay and Les Snead laughing about Cole Strange or talking about how much they like Travion Henderson too?
Yeah.
I'll
sure.
take the latter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like when guys sort of feel, they got a good one. We wanted him. We missed out on him.
Yeah. And, you know, like we always talk about Bill and how the quirkiness of his drafts usually came because he wanted to do somebody a favor. Like, I like this coach, and I'm going to do his program a favor by, you know, picking somebody from his school or you know, something like that. Or
Could use a program.
And you know, here, Vrabel went to Ohio State. So if you're going to do favors, let's do it to, like, one of the bigger schools that have, like,
National
the most
champs.
talent.
Why
You know?
not?
Ohio State,
Yeah.
Rutgers.
Right.
I know,
You know, so I kind of like that.
It was a funny. I was thinking about the same thing last night, Fred. Was with Bill's drafts, like he had so much success that you had no choice but to kind of acquiesce and say,
Right.
well,
Yeah, it always works out.
He must
Yeah.
see something. And you know, as we got near the end, more and more, you said, well, geez, I'm not trusting these as much as I used to. Now with this draft, it's easy just to go home and be like, yeah, this just makes total sense. Like, this is what we've talked about for 3 months of what we want to see them add, what we think that they need. They see it similarly. The explosiveness at running back, the explosiveness at receiver, adding depth along the line. Those are the big positions we've been talking about. It just, you know, that's like, it sounds weird to say, but it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that caller, Robin, called in and said, you know, was very animated about wanting game breakers.
Yeah.
And yesterday they went out and they added 2 potential game breakers with Williams and Trayvon Henderson. So if that was what you were clamoring for, you wanted speed, you wanted big playability. I mean, we'll see if they pan out. But you have a 4-4 receiver and a 4-4-1 running back. I think that they got some speed on the field.
And I know he shouldn't need motivation, but doesn't this, like, really motivate your young quarterback to see what they're doing in this draft? It's like, okay, I got a tackle, I got a dynamic running back and a wide receiver. We already signed Stephon Diggs. Let's go. You know, let's get out there. I want to be out on the field today.
Me too.
You know?
I think the same thing. I mean, and maybe even a tight end in the mix too. It seems there's, you know, a number of names that could possibly make sense here on day 3. So I don't even know if they're done. I know Elliot Wolf commented that they're going to go to defense. I think the way he put it was there are some spots we feel like we need to shore up, which is, you know, how I feel too. We'll see what they do here at the top of the 4th. But as I went back and kind of looked through some of the prospects, and Evan brought up Kyle Kennard, who we talked about a little bit, going up against Will Campbell, giving Will Campbell some problems. You know, there are some guys out there on the edge that still intrigue me. So I'm not that I was.
You haven't given
upset.
up.
I haven't given
You
up.
haven't
hope
given up.
Well,
that
that's what
there'll be somebody
I was
that
going to
I'll-
come at you with
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'd like to have somebody that I'm familiar with and a little bit excited. But as you get further down the board, it's more and more like, oh, I missed this guy, or, you know, this guy fell through the cracks.
I'm surprised to hear you talking about tight end off the top before the edge guys.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to
Trying to
placate
balance.
the fans.
I mean,
to balance.
Elliot,
I don't want you guys to yell at me again.
Elliot talked about, you know,
Evan didn't yell. I was the only one that yelled.
Snapped for you.
Elliot talked about, you know, the fact that now with the trade downs, they've got some extra picks in the 5th round, which might allow them to make a move if they see fit.
Yeah.
So, you know, we could see them going back into the 4th round, using up a couple of those 5th picks or whatever. If they see a guy, you know, that you like.
Yeah,
and,
hopefully
you know,
the one that I like. But they also have no picks in the 6th round, so we always, the donut. I mean, that's a big way to
you
go.
don't want to see the parade go by, right?
Yeah, so they're picking 4th in the 4th, then they're picking 6th, 8th, and 35th in the 5th. No picks in the 6th, and then 4th and 22nd right now in the 7th. So, you know, there is a hole. I could see maybe a trade down where they, you know, try to maybe package some picks and fill that gap. But there's still, you know, promising players to be had today. Not necessarily players that you're going to say these guys are going to come in and actually this is a question I was thinking of for Elliot last night. Would have just been, do you still feel there are players on the board that can compete for starting jobs? Like you said, these top 4 picks that you've made can all come in and compete for starting jobs. I think that would be an interesting question just to hear his perspective as we get into the 4th round. Are there still competitive guys that you feel like can, you know, play with the guys that you have already on
Shamir
the
Dyke
roster?
went to the Tennessee Titans.
DK.
DK.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just
Trying
to
should
save
have
you
a
from
little accent over the E.
saying that word. That's all.
DK.
Yeah.
So he went to the Titans, wide receiver out of Florida.
That was
with
one
the
of your
first pick.
guys, Fred. Back of the envelope guy.
Was he?
I believe so.
What?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I don't have my.
I
wide
mean, I
receiver.
remember you
don't
saying
have
the
wide receivers
name
there?
No,
like
it's
the way
over
you
here.
said it once before. So, explosive player, really 4.3 speed, good athlete. I thought he I was late to him. I was impressed by what I saw, but just kind of a one-trick pony.
No,
but,
he wasn't one of my guys.
Oh, I could have sworn we talked about him.
We might have talked about
Fred
him.
mentioned him because we had to correct him on the name.
Too talented.
Yeah,
No, I had
Oh, I see. Yeah, he's
yeah. So I had Torrey Horton,
yeah.
Lambert Smith, Ty Felton, Nick Nash, who there's still hope.
Still there.
Thornton Jr. and Isaiah
hope for all
Nair.
those guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was kind of interested in DK if they decided to not take a receiver on day 2, as in this range, maybe a little earlier than I expected, but 4th, 5th round flyer on just some upside and some tools and speed.
It would have been fun with Eldred because we've been like, hey, they got DK.
They got one of the faster guys
What?
in the draft. Yeah.
Not DK Metcalf, but
Yeah.
Jermaine
Yeah.
DK.
I didn't get that at first. I'm already out.
I do think there's some edges for you, Deuce, that can contribute.
Yeah.
And that can play. I think that spot, we all knew it was deep, and we all knew there would be guys early on day 3 that would still be able to come in and contribute. Obviously, Jack Sawyer's still out there, which is probably the biggest Vrabel connection ever
For sure.
in this draft. I really liked Kyle Kennard. I thought Kyle Kennard was an easy top 100 guy in this draft. Great college production, really well-schooled pass rusher, good length, good ability to win in the run and the pass game, good instincts, good nose for the football. So I'm really hoping that 106 is an edge pick.
Yeah.
I really think that that kind of puts a bow on the draft to me, as if they're able to take one of those edge guys.
I missed some of the picks, crossing them off my list as the night went on last night. Is the LSU kid the edge guy that you were
Savion
talking
Jones,
about?
Yeah.
KC.
Simpson, he did
Is
get
that
picked.
who it was? Savion
No,
Jones?
Savion Jones. There's
No.
2 of them. You're talking about
Braden
Swinson.
Swinson.
Yeah,
Because
Swinson's
I know,
still out
Evan,
there.
you were talking about him a little bit
Yeah,
last
he's
night.
still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get intrigued by the schools too. I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about these different guys at this stage, but I remember that name from when Evan was talking about him last night, and
Yeah.
the LSU part.
I like the other
I
one,
like.
Savion Jones, and last night as I was regrouping, and then I didn't realize same thing. I didn't realize he had gone to KC, but he would have been one of those guys. I figure right here as we're coming up on.
Yeah.
Is, the,
106.
is the Michigan kid still there?
Josiah
Josiah Stewart now.
No.
Okay.
So the Jaguars took Bashal Tutin, the running back from Virginia Tech, who is one of the more fun studies of this running back class, in my opinion. Just absolutely dynamic mover, great speed, 4.3 level speed, and a home run hitter. He can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. We talked about stacking the speed backs in this class. Travion Henderson was certainly at the top of the list, but guys like Tutin, Dylan Sampson, R.J. Harvey from UCF, Brashard Smith maybe a little bit later. Like, those were the guys that we were talking about in that mold, and the Patriots took the top one. They took Henderson, but Tutin, I'm sure if they hadn't taken Henderson when they took him, then Tutin was probably on the board at this range for them.
I got a question for you guys. Just going through Elliott Wolf's press conference, he said there was a little bit of debate on the pick that ended up being Henderson. We were, speculating. They said that it was good. There was some disagreement, and they had some back and forth. I thought that was interesting. We were kind of speculating who it might have been. I think we thought maybe Jaden Higgins could have been the player that they were also considering at that spot. But no, it seems like they're all, smooth operation. They're all getting to know each other. But I thought that was interesting that they were, kind of sharing that it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. And yeah, we agree. There has to be some, give and take. So I think they're all getting to know each other. I mean, even with Ryan Cowden, or I should say Elliott, thanking how hard it is for that coaching staff to come in, and they've got a new scouting staff, and you've got to get everybody up to speed. So I think it's probably been a little bit of a challenge for them getting everybody on the same page.
The other story I'm
On
sure
deck
we'll talk
here.
about probably after the Patriots pick, because there's going to be a big gap, is this Shador Sanders thing. I mean, he's still on the board. We're now into the 4th round. There's all kinds of speculation as to why. And it is kind of a head scratcher. It really is. I mean, how can so many people have thought that at least he was second round talent, at least, thinking he can play in this league, and yet he hasn't been picked yet. And the only thing I can come up with is just the baggage is not worth the talent.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people are saying that an established program like the Rams or the Steelers should be able to absorb a guy like that until, he is in fact ready to play and keep down the distraction. But the teams that, really, really need a quarterback are passing him up.
That's why I brought Pittsburgh up last night for that reason. They do need a quarterback, and I feel Tomlin is strong enough.
Yeah.
That he's not. I don't think that Tomlin would say, I'm not taking him because of I worried about the bag. I mean, this is a guy who had Antonio Brown for however long.
But maybe he's done with all that.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not going through that
It could
again,
be. Maybe he's. Bill used to say that toward the end of his tenure. I want to cover. I want to coach guys I like.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't want to deal with those kinds of headaches anymore. But I don't
Patriots
feel.
are on the clock.
Yeah, I don't feel Shador Sanders is that kind of a problem. In air quotes, problem. He's not been in any kind of legal trouble.
No.
He's not. He's a committed football player.
Scattaboo to the Giants.
And all that stuff. They're not going to take a running back now. Patriots.
I don't care what he is. I want him on my team. I just want him as my mascot. I don't care.
Oh, okay. No, I just thought it would be very unlikely that the Patriots would take after taking Trevion Henderson. I think that kind of gets Scattaboo out.
Scattaboo's a special guy, special player.
He's breaking tackles in his draft room.
I think the Giants just won the NFC East.
I like Scattaboo. I do. I so badly want to make fun of Fred right now, but I'm kind of with him on this guy. I think he's a really good football player. I don't know how long he's going to be in the NFL playing. Watch some of these runs. You won't see him like all of these highlights that they show, like the Virginia Tech guy they just showed. He's like one cut into space, gone.
Yeah,
Scattaboo doesn't do that.
Me.
It's one cut. Let me see if I can find another guy to hit.
He'd be like, in the locker room having those slap fights, like where you slap the guy and. Oh my God.
Yeah, I like Scattaboo. I think he's probably going to be in the league for about 3 years. He's going to be broken down, but.
Just real quick, going back to Shador, like it almost feels like performative for the media with some of these like outraged takes, and I just can't help but wonder it's making them look bad because they spent so much time hyping him up, hyping his potential.
I totally think that he didn't go in the first round because the 32 teams that picked didn't think he was good enough to. The fact that he hasn't gone since, you can make an argument is about more than that. I'll listen to but don't tell me that no one took him in the first round because of Deion Sanders. I don't believe that. If he was good enough to go in the first round, someone would have taken him.
Well,
there were 3 or 4 teams that needed a quarterback.
You would think.
But now you can make an argument that, Dylan Gabriel, and he's not going to go. Now you can make an argument that it's about the baggage.
But there were enough ball knowers who said he was a first-round talent to say, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But who were the ball knowers that were saying it? Because the teams didn't.
What do you mean?
The team said he's not good enough to go in the first round.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about
like Mel Kiper did.
Yeah.
He was out of his mind.
I'm talking about the draft analysts.
Yeah, I think they were wrong.
Yeah, but like how? How are they so wrong?
I don't know. Like Dane Brugler had him in the second round. He wasn't wrong.
Yeah. Well, he was so far.
No, but he wasn't a first-round talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rest of this could be about, it's just like Mike Green.
Well, do you think
Mike Green's first-round talent who ended up in the second round?
But he had something going on.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But
so do you think it was just like the name Sanders actually helped him? Like right now it's hurting him, we say. But could it have also helped him to be thought of as a first-round talent?
That's the thing that I was joking about last night, is a lot of people passionately saying that no one would be talking about this drop if it wasn't for his last name. And a lot of people would say he wouldn't have dropped like this if it wasn't for his last name.
Yeah. I
don't know who's right, but both of them are arguing strongly on both sides.
A lot of relationships to be managed.
A lot of relationships.
Prime.
Good way
Coach
to put
Prime
it.
as well.
And I do feel like that's part of this. I think that people that are strongly in the he's getting screwed camp are currying favor with Deion.
So the Patriots pick is in.
Oh, it is in?
It is in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
It's I think it's a safe pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
This is not a head scratcher. I'd say this is the first pick that I have been a little bit Interesting. Makes you think a little bit.
Sounds like
Yeah, this is
So the pick is in. It's Craig Woodson, safety from California.
Yeah, so a true free safety prospect, and I think that's something that
We talked about that last night.
You know, is a potential need for this team. Somebody that can play at the top of the defense in center field. I think he's probably at his best playing in more split safety coverage or rotating down in that robber role or into that short zone distribution. But I definitely think he can play up top and play the deep role as well. And I'm sure they feel that way too. We've talked numerous times about them needing like a Duron Harmon type of safety that can let Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers play closer to the line of scrimmage, play in the box, especially on third down and obvious passing situations. I feel pretty good about Woodson potentially competing for that sort of third safety role. I don't know if he's going to be a starter in the NFL long term, but as a depth safety, somebody that can rotate in on third down, passing situations, play center field, I think that he can do those types of things, and they obviously felt like this was a need. It seems like they felt like safety was definitely on the radar for this draft.
Yeah, well, Marcus Epps, you brought back Jalen Hawkins as well.
Yep.
I said earlier in the show, do you still feel like there are guys who compete for starting roles? I don't know if I'd qualify this. I think, Ev, you put it pretty well, that he'll compete to be a rotational piece. But I do think that the signals are pointing towards we need another option. We don't want to play Duggar and Peppers together. I think that's what we all kind of acknowledge, that those two guys are going to be at their best when they're free to move around, make plays on the second level instead of, like what Duron Harmon did so well. But that's a very specific kind of job. So maybe if he's able to do that and be that third safety on, third downs, end of games when you're trying to play a lot of coverage on the back end, it could
certainly
make sense.
fills a need.
Yeah, 6 foot, around 200 pounds, ran a 4.45, so decent speed for safety.
Yeah, I would also mention, that there's maybe potentially a little bit of nickel corner flex here. I think he could probably do that as well and play over the slot if they wanted him to. So there's some flexibility with him as a player. I would say, just to full disclosure, I had him as much further down, and so did the Beast. Had a 6th round grade on him. Dane Brugler had the same. So I'm a little surprised. It's a little earlier than I expected him to go, but I think we're at the point of the draft now where a lot of it is just fit and scheme and culture and character and all that kind of stuff. So where you see guys on day 3 can
Maybe this
obviously
is where
be
you'll
wildly
see
different.
that stuff that I was talking about earlier about, the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
There's going to be some probably variations.
Any Cal connections in our draft room?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Jack Kaiser.
Linebacker from Notre Dame went to
Jacksonville.
the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, barring a trade, we're not up until the 5th round. But, like Wolf said, they do have now some ammo to go back up into the 4th if they see somebody.
Yeah,
We'll
stay
have to
ready. Stay ready. I'd
Keep
say.
an eye open. Yeah, we have two picks that are quick, right?
Yeah, 4th, the
140.
6th and 8th pick in the 5th round, but you got
It's like 141.
you
What
got
is it?
probably about 30 plus picks to get through. I think there's 36 picks, I believe, in this 4th round, maybe 39 actually. So, yeah, this is what day 3
144
becomes.
and 146.
Yeah.
Watching that ticker, waiting for NE to pop up on that.
So we have a
Yeah.
lot of emails coming in. And by the way, last night, again, was huge numbers
And
for the show.
The listeners really bringing it too. Like, so a lot of good calls, a lot of good emails.
And then we get criticized sometimes for the callers. And, sometimes it's the same people, and I get it.
But
I
I
think
give
that-
them credit for
I think-
calling
yeah,
consistently.
I think there was a lot of energy last night, a lot of takes. I'm not saying they were all good, but a lot of takes. So keep it up. Let's go. Also, podcast@patriots.com is the way to email the show. We got a ton of emails coming in. Jared writes in, I absolutely love the Henderson pick. I can't help but think back to James White and McDaniel's offense. Not saying Trey will be James White, but can definitely see him being used the same way. Yeah, we see him as a third down back as well, a passing back, helping out in the passing game.
Yeah, Elliott said they kind of view all those guys as 3-down backs. And
Yep.
I think we talked about it last night when they made the selection that in recent years they had gotten away from that. It hadn't been the pure early down, third down kind of split between the running backs. I think that's what they're trying to stick with. I think they like all those guys to be able to play on all 3 downs. And I'm wondering if that's part of what Josh McDaniels, and I don't want to say it's him evolving, because for all we know, it might have been how Bill wanted to play things, when he was here before. But I do wonder a little bit if it's maybe Josh saying, we got to get away from so much specialization in the backfield. We need guys that are threats to catch the ball or run the ball and make plays. I do like, though, I think as Evan said, they do complement each other pretty well with Ramondre, his hard running style. But the way Ramondre plays, it just doesn't serve to run him into the ground. He's going to get hit a lot. He's going to break tackles. So I just think Henderson's a nice, would you say, thunder and lightning kind of pick.
Yeah, I love James White. Everybody here loves James White. I think TreVeyon Henderson is got the potential to be a much more well-rounded player than James White was. Like, James White was a true third down running back, pass catching back, receiving back, third down running back. I think TreVeyon Henderson's got a little bit more of a complete skill set.
Yeah, poor Biggie.
Dante Thornton.
Dante Thornton just went to the big shock, the Raiders.
Yeah.
I would just say, Ev, I agree with you 1,000% on James White, the New England Patriot. James White coming out of Wisconsin was more than just a third down pass catching back. So we'll see what Henderson ends up being.
Yeah.
I think Henderson's probably resume at Ohio State is more impressive than White's at Wisconsin, but White was more than third down back at Wisconsin. And that's a team that,
right.
They kind of played old-time Big Ten football, and he was a between the tackles option there as well.
Yeah, I think that, James White, just from what he was with the Patriots, was more of a specialized player.
Definitely.
I think this guy, Henderson, has the ability to do a lot more.
Me too.
Yeah.
But if you would ask me, and I do remember when James White came out, I remember doing his profile, I wouldn't have said that's what he'll be strictly this third down matchup guy. I wouldn't have thought that's all he would be.
Right.
I would have thought he would be more of a change of pace running back than he was.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's how I see Henderson as a true change of pace back. So, certain game plans, certain game situations, certain packages even, 11 personnel packages, spread the field type of offense like that, they're going to have him be the feature guy. He'll be the number one running back in that type of vein. So I see him much more as like a 1B to Ramondre Stevenson than just a third down running back.
Like, just as a point of comparison, James White, his last year at Wisconsin, had 221 carries for 1,444 yards and 13 touchdowns. So what he was as a Patriot wasn't what he was coming out. I mean, he also had 39 catches, so he obviously had that ability. But James White was a big-time player at Wisconsin.
Yeah. The Bills have traded up into 109, so it's always interesting to see what our AFC East rivals take.
Maybe they take Shador Sanders.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I mean, Fred brought up, the teams, those are the Philadelphia, Kansas City, Pittsburgh. Those are the teams that are strong enough that we can take him. He's not going to play. No one's going to say he needs to play over Josh Allen.
Right.
We can just be patient with him. I mean, I'm not expecting that. I'm just saying those are the kinds of teams that could take Shador Sanders.
But, listen, you got to say, well, he's not going to play over Josh Allen. Right, but you put him in your system, he's a good citizen for a year, and now other teams warm up to him.
Right. Maybe you can get a third round.
You get a second round
pick for him.
Or a second,
or a first, maybe. No, I'm just joking. I just say on Buffalo's draft, looking through them right now, I mean, Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, and Jordan Birch, all defensive picks thus far for the Bills. So
which made sense. Their defense, as Evan pointed out Thursday night, their defense has taken some steps back.
And it's notable to know that they jumped over the Jets.
It's not the Bills?
No, that's Arizona.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, well, Johnson, I know, went to Arizona.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
They took Mac, the Kentucky cornerback, in the first round.
Maxwell,
Hairston, Sanders, Landon Jackson. So, it's still same point, though. All defensive players. Landon Jackson, big dude, jumped out of the RCA Dome there in Indy.
They are crazy, though, those Bills fans.
The Royal Order of the Buffaloes.
They are just out of their minds.
It is funny, though. Another big defensive player, Deion Walker.
Oh, yeah.
Deion Walker is a weird player, though, because he's like 350, 360 pounds, but he plays he plays end. Like
That's a great clip right there. They just showed. He just like said, "Get out of my way." He's just.
Oh yeah, no, he's a man amongst boys in that respect. But he plays better, I would say, at defensive end than he does at nose tackle because of his pad level. He gets really high up and pops straight up out of his stance. So he's not the best at leveraging blocks in the run game, even at his size. So he's actually better. Rushing the passer and playing a little bit in space, which is interesting.
So that's interesting. They took two defensive tackles that are very, very different.
Yeah.
Because you said Sanders, if I
Sanders
recall, was
powerful,
like a little bit of the Ed
up the
Oliver
field.
kind of athletic interior guy, and this guy's just huge.
Just monster. Yeah. Deion Walker, I think a lot of coming into this process, he was probably rated a lot higher on a lot of people's boards, but he's really fallen down because of really digging into the tape and pad level leverage concerns, motor concerns at that size, like things like that. What's
interesting, they hopped over the Jets, so I'm wondering if the Jets they got wind that the Jets might have been interested in this guy. Jets are on the clock.
Yeah, certainly a traits kind of.
I am a little surprised that, not surprised with all the defensive picks, but just that they hadn't targeted at least one sort of weapon on offense, because I do think they were kind of a weapon away last year offensively. I mean, they had a good offense. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, but they just rely so much on Allen.
855-PATS-500 is the hotline. Let's go to Nate in Connecticut. What's up, Nate?
Hey, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I just had a couple quick thoughts. I remember I called in probably about like a month or two ago saying if any of you were opposed to take a running back. And I remember Fred said, later in the draft. And I was watching the draft yesterday, and I didn't really expect to take them a running back in the second round. But this dude seems like pretty legit. And my question to you guys is, do you think that there's going to be a big competition between Stevenson and Henderson? Or do you think the workload will be sort of even 50-50? Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so how are they going to use these guys?
Yeah, I don't know if competition's necessarily the right word, because I think they're so complementary that they're each going to have their roles and their situations that they're going to be playing in game to game. So they're going to just kind of be a duo or a tandem. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily, deeper than that, right? Like in terms of competition. So, I've made the comparison to, you're trying to. It's obviously a ceiling of what it could potentially be, but David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit, right? Like those two guys both have roles. They both have, what they do best, and they use them in that spot. The Jets kind of have like a watered down version of it with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, like that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Just real quick on the previous pick that the Patriots made, Craig Woodson. I just saw our buddy Brian Hines put a tweet out with a quote from Daniel Jeremiah, who talked about, I guess he was on Move the Sticks, I don't know, somewhere in the pre-draft process. He says this of Craig Woodson: he's one of those guys where I don't kind of know what I'm missing. Like, he's got enough size, he takes the ball away, he ran in the mid-4.4s. I talked to the guys at Cal, like he's a super smart, great leader. Cal's been a sneaky good secondary factory over the years. He's one, I think, to me, I have him like early mid-third round, and maybe he goes in like the 5th round. But when all is said and done, I think you'll look up and he'll be starting next year. So
like that.
Daniel Jeremiah is pretty high on Craig Woodson. He goes in the 4th round, and he liked him maybe in the middle of the 3rd. He thought that maybe he projected to the 5th, maybe a little bit later, but he thought he was one of the better late round players on his board.
I mean, maybe.
And Daniel Jeremiah is pretty good.
Yeah, maybe this will end up being kind of a barometer pick, because the previous 4 picks, I think we all kind of felt like this is best player available. This makes sense. Maybe this is a player that we're going to look back and say, wow, they kind of found a gem that was off the beaten path a little bit. Not too much. I mean, we all acknowledge the need for a free safety type, but still, I think that's where you give guys more credit. Players like this who aren't, I mean, everybody knows exactly what
see the
players
potential.
above them do.
Yeah, thanks to our buddy Brian Hines for putting that out on Twitter.
Brian.
You do also, you wonder what it means for both Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers, and they've been really big on competition in all areas of the roster. And Duggar's coming off a really down year, coming off an injury, didn't get what you were expecting out of him, and then obviously with Peppers with what went on off the field, I don't think that those two guys are as certain as maybe we thought they were this time last year. So
Yeah.
if you're surprised that they added a safety, I think that it comes down to that. They didn't get the production out of those two players that they were expecting, so you have to add competition. I think it's similar as running back, where Ramondre Stevenson did not have the year that they were expecting him to have last year, so they draft a running back high and bring in some competition.
Mike's in Puerto Rico. Hey, Mike. Mike?
Mike.
Mike's not there. Let's go to Boston Cream. Hey, Boston Cream.
Hey guys, great draft show. I'm kind of catching up on the podcast, but quick question. I don't know if it's been brought up, but do we know that this is the last player drafted from Washington State since Drew Bledsoe
For the Patriots?
in Cowboys? Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know off the top of my head, but we will endeavor
We don't
that.
know. He's asking or he's telling us.
Malloy was Washington, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Husky, not cute.
Well, sorry, I'm telling. I'm just not sure if it's been brought up, so I'm wondering if Paul has a special connection to this player now.
No, he probably, yeah.
I do not.
And also, Evan, is the last safety pick a little weird considering Billy Bowman was on the board?
Yeah, I think that those were it's a fair question. I
Thanks,
gravitated
Boston
a little bit more towards Billy Bowman and Malachi Moore in the similar role that they drafted Woodson to play. So I would be interested to know what they saw in Woodson that they didn't see in those two guys. My guess, just total guess, he has a little bit more size than those two players. Those two guys are a little bit undersized for the position, so maybe that's what they're thinking. But I had more on my big board. I was a big fan of Billy Bowman's as well. Similar type of players, similar type of roles. And I would have personally drafted one of those guys over Woodson, but they obviously liked Woodson, so here we are.
Boston Cream is correct. Drew Bledsoe, 1993. No Patriot chosen out of Washington State since,
Okay.
according to draft history.
Did you like Arian Smith, wide receiver? Because he went to the Jets.
That's funny.
Why?
I thought Arian Smith's going to be like a 7th-round pick.
Oh.
Yeah, so
no.
we're getting into the range of the draft now where I feel like we're kind of a little bit all over the place with where people's boards are. Like Deion Walker, Ty Robinson to Philly, like those picks make sense in this range to me. Arian Smith does not. That does not make much sense to me.
Okay.
And I don't know which one this is. Georgia's receivers struggled this year. I saw a number of Georgia games where they just could not hold on to the football.
Yeah,
I
catching
don't
the
know
ball
if
is
he's-
challenging.
I don't know if he's one of them.
He is. Yeah, he's got a lot of athleticism, a lot of traits that you like in terms of separation, but he had trouble catching the football.
I'm reading his analysis on ESPN. Smith is a lean receiver who was plagued by ugly drops in 2024. He averaged 17 yards per catch. Outstanding combine workout. Explodes out the line. Maybe he's one of those guys that focus drops, as they like to say.
Yes.
And if he can fix that. But I watched Georgia quite a few times this year, and I don't love their quarterback play. I didn't love Carson Beck, but they did not get a lot of help from their receivers.
Yeah.
John writes in, says, I know Paul likes games. This game,
Love
you
games.
choose which one of these seem more ridiculous coming into the draft. T-Mac falling out of the top 10 or Matthew Golden being the first receiver taken? What would be more ridiculous? I don't think either one of them are really ridiculous.
No, I think
Yeah.
that both of those guys got taken around where people thought they
Yeah.
would get taken,
Yeah.
right?
One of the top 3 tackles falling.
I mean, didn't T-Mac go 8?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
He went to the Panthers at 8, right? That's about like where everybody thought he was going to go.
Yeah. One of the top
missing
3
that?
tackles
Yeah.
falling to the late 20s or New England trading out of the pick?
One of the 3 tackles falling to the late 20s?
Well, I don't know, but who do you consider the top 3? I don't know.
So I would assume he's talking Campbell, Banks, and Membu. Those are the 3
Yeah,
tackles.
one of the
Yeah.
top
One
3.
of those top 3 falling into the 20s would have been, I think,
Yeah, I don't know.
probably pretty unrealistic.
Evan wearing a suit to a blue-collar draft or Deuce getting upset that his defense didn't get any help between the first 2 days?
Deuce,
Yeah.
he got over it.
Yeah.
He did a good job of getting over it.
And P.S. I'm low-key starting to hate Christian in L.A., but I still have a lot of hate for Patty taking 10 minutes to ask his questions.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's It's good, solid color on color crime. I'm here for it.
Sure.
Always.
Let's see. I know Evan, this is Michael. I know Evan wants the edge, but Farmer might be a good value here with his Barmore comp. Joshua Farmer?
Joshua.
Yeah, I don't see Barmore when I watch Joshua Farmer. But I've heard that comp, and I'm not like coming at the emailer for making the comp. I don't see that kind of player.
And I mean, value-wise, I mean, he's up on a lot of these lists as one of the guys.
Yeah, no, I thought that he was
among the best available talent.
100%. I thought that he was maybe in play there at 106
And
for the Patriots.
and in fairness, I'm sure that email came in before they actually made the pick at 106.
Yeah. Most interesting Patriots fan in the world, James Pettigrew says, dare I say it, are the days of being scared of the draft over? I remember being in studio for the Razai Dowling pick, and I was forever scarred.
Yeah, this is as good as I think we've collectively felt about a draft.
Sean in Vancouver, Mike, Jack Sawyer's still there, LFG.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
I don't think that's Mike's favorite option.
Well,
he wants an edge, but
I mean, look, I got to be consistent with what I've said, and I think the issue that I just am concerned with is pass rush depth. And I banged that drum last year, and what happened? Matthew Judon got traded, and all of a sudden, they had 30th in pressure rate. So,
I'm with you. I'm with you, Pop.
It's a hugely important part of the defense, and
I think their defense is just as bad as the offense.
As the great Ben Volin pointed out, I mean, they've picked 13 picks, and 14 last picks. One of them has been on the defensive side of the ball.
You're siding with Ben Volin.
I know. Well, that's strange days
hole.
indeed. But it's look. There's been plenty of attention on the defense in free agency, but going back to last year too, just Marcellus died.
What else you want?
I hear what Mike's
just taking
saying.
these like
We
day
got a
3
diamond in the rough
flyers.
safety
We got
for
plenty
ya.
of day 3 flyers for this defense. I think everybody acknowledges though, at a certain point, this will catch up with you. You need to continue to stock some young talent, and hopefully they draft some guys here over these last few rounds that do develop into something. But as I've learned working with Paul, and this is, it's hard to expect anything out of anybody drafted from this point on.
Right.
Like, it's great.
And
give
that
them a
doesn't mean
chance.
you don't
They've
get
got
anything.
traits.
Don't confuse not expecting
Just don't
with
get
not
your
getting.
hopes up.
But just don't pencil this guy in as a
I think a
contributor.
lot of times fans look at the position that they took and they drafted him, so that means you addressed it.
Yeah.
Whereas the vast majority of the guys that you take with those picks will not address the need. But that doesn't mean they never will. Michael Owenu was a day 3 guy. He addressed a need.
Yeah.
Like, it happens.
But it's more like, like you said, like you're pleasantly surprised instead of,
Sure.
Okay, Michael Owenu, 6th round pick. He'll be starting a right guard for us.
Yeah. How many wide receivers have they taken in the 6th and 7th round that have been considered to be Edelman?
So many.
Do you want me to go down the list?
Well, I mean, just recently you had the Ernie
Jeremy
Adams
Ebert,
pick. I mean,
Jeremy Gallen, Trey Nixon.
But even Trey Nixon was the one I was talking about.
Devin Lucien.
Yeah.
I like some of the talent still on the board here at edge, and I think some of these guys can really play. And this class is just unique in that respect that it has a loaded group at that position. So
you and Mike have been very high on the edges for a long time.
If you look at it, Jack Sawyer's still there, as we've been saying. Brady Swinson still there from LSU. Baron Sorrell from Texas. Kyle Kennard from South Carolina. Like, if Deuce wants just a pure pass rusher, like he's saying, Quay Robinson from Alabama has some of the most fun pass rush tape out of any of these guys that are still available. Antoine Powell-Ryland from Virginia Tech's another guy that can really rush the passer. So I still think that there's 4 or 5 guys that are true edge rushers that can rush the passer and rush the quarterback and have a third down role. David Walker from Central Arkansas is another one, small school guy that's still out and available. So I would like to see them grab one of those guys. I think that their rookie class looks great. Their draft picks look great so far, but it's missing that. It's missing that player on the edge, and hopefully they get it. C.J. West, really good pick by the Niners. He's a baller.
Did I ever tell you my big guy with the small number theory? I love those guys.
Does it make them look bigger?
Big guys with small numbers. You know what it means to me, Mike?
linemen.
Is it means that guy is a really good athlete. And I'm dead serious. I'm not. This is not.
Oh, it's not just a visual thing. It's not just the contrast.
There's a reason that he had that number but he had the number when he was smaller and more or something. It's not typical that these 300-pound guys would wear number 8.
Yeah.
There had to be some reason. I think.
Well, like Brian Morey was 7 at BU.
almost.
He got to wear 7?
Almost
Yeah.
universally, those guys are more athletic than their position. And that guy, the Indiana guy, C.J. West,
he's a game
pretty
wrecker.
Pretty good player.
Yeah, he's a really good player and a penetrating nose tackle. You don't see a ton of those. Like, this is not a space eater. He's an up-the-field nose tackle. Really good on line games. Really good at penetrating the line of scrimmage. He was one of my favorite guys in this draft.
So, Mike, your defense thing, you know, and I totally agree with you and Evan when you talk about the need to continue to address.
Yeah.
I just feel like they had no options in some of these spots on offense. What they've done on defense is they've put stopgaps in.
Yeah.
So I think that you're serviceable
Yeah.
in need of more. On offense, you didn't have a left tackle.
Yeah.
You might not have a guard. You know, you did not have a playmaking wide receiver, really.
Yeah.
You have a stopgap in Diggs, and that's about it. So you have to hope, to your point, they let go of Matthew Judon. Harold Landry's got to give him something.
Yeah.
You know, in the pass rush. And then you have to look ahead and say, okay, that's going to be on a small list of things. When we're talking next November, December, January, hopefully not till January, when we start talking about the draft next time, that, you know, it's going to be an edge guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a top flight weapon wide receiver. You know, those are the, you know, hopefully you can pigeonhole it and find some dynamic players at those positions. But I wouldn't necessarily be in despair. Like, where's the pass rush? You know, like, because I do think they have some stopgap. Robert Spillane will probably give them a little bit of a.
You laid it out.
Pressure by committee.
Yeah, you laid it out wonderfully, Paul. And I'd even add another to that. Is like, oh, by the way, Deuce, they signed Milton Williams, who was the best pass rusher available in this free agency class, and is you know, an absolute terror. And they also might be getting back Christian Barmore. So, you know, it's. You're always chasing. You're never going to have everything, right? There's always going to be something that you decide. But what you just said, Paul, about next year, we're probably talking about now's time to find that number one receiver and the edge. Like,
and again, that doesn't mean that I don't want to do the Evan Mike thing and get one of these guys, like my LSU guy or Jack Sawyer, or I mean, you know, somebody.
Just
if it's that deep, if you guys are right and there's that much depth at the edge.
I mean, not to oversimplify it, but, you know, I always talk about the big 5 positions. And right now you feel like at quarterback they got Drake May. At cornerback they have Christian Gonzalez. At left tackle now they have Will Campbell. And, you know, what's left is really we could talk ourselves into Diggs. Maybe he still has some of that juice of being that guy. But is there a long-term elite edge presence? I think those are the 5 positions. So those last 2 are, you know, and I think they've done a lot at wide receiver. They've done enough to make me feel like they have some players that are going to be able to change this offense to make it more explosive, and that's the exciting fact. We talked all the last 2 days about it. This is an offense league. This is about scoring. This is about the passing game, and ultimately that's where you're going to live and die. I don't need to stock up on defense and make that the focus. This offense needs to catch up to the rest of the NFL. We've been saying it too long. So in that regard, totally get it. It's just I'm always going to be looking at, well, where's the need? Where's the potential flaw? Where are we one injury away from, oh boy? Because I mean, I honestly would say if Harold Landry got hurt, that's a big deal right now.
And guys will get hurt.
They've addressed a lot of vacant needs, which doesn't necessarily give you any depth. It just gives you some players that are plugged in. And you're right. If they were to lose, you know, some of those guys that they brought in as free agents, if 1 or 2 of those guys get hurt, I think they're really relying on those guys to eat up a lot of snaps.
Well, you know, when you talk about depth, that was basically what Elliot Wolf said last night about today, and that was we still feel like we have some holes on the depth chart, you know, in terms of depth on defense, not necessarily our frontline starters, but, you know, developmental free safety, right? You know, backup safety. Maybe a rotational edge rusher or a backup edge rusher to add depth there. You know, that type of stuff is, I think, where they're trying to go today. And they're not all going to be stars. Maybe none of them will be stars. But can they be your third safety? Can they be a rotational pass rusher, you know, on third down off the edge? You know, that's what they're kind of looking for right now today. And I just listening to Deuce talk about, you know, his concerns about the depth there in the pass rush. It really brings me back to Keon White. Like, Keon White, I feel like needs to be he needs to take a next step as an outside rusher.
See, I don't think it's fair to put it on him to, like, be a pass rusher. He wasn't in college.
Well, he's an
That's
interior.
not who he is.
He's an interior pass
Yeah,
rusher.
he's a pocket pusher. He can be a disruptor for sure, but he's not a sack guy.
I don't need him to be a sack guy. I need
Okay.
him. I want him to pressure the quarterback. Like, I think Harold Landry's here to sack people. I mean, that's a guy that can get up to double-digit sacks. But you want, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, Keon White. You want those guys being the one that are pushing the quarterback towards Harold Landry,
Sure.
so
Okay.
that he can go ahead and clean it up.
Yeah.
And I look at Keon White as a player that right now probably has the highest upside to be what Deuce is looking for on the current roster. Him and I have been kind of lockstep on it, thinking that he's not really that kind of guy. Like your point, Fred, especially coming off the edge. Like, it's just not really been his strong suit since he's been here or even in college. But, maybe with Terrell Williams and Mike Vrabel, they're able to school him up
He
and they're
sets the
able to
table.
improve
He's not
it.
a finisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point you're probably looking more at Keon White as your right defensive end on early downs, and you'll, as Paul said, rotate in Chase on passing downs. And I don't have anything against Keon White. I think he's really good inside, but they have Milton Williams, they have Christian Barmore. There's only so many gaps on the inside of the offensive line that you can put rushers over. So I hope they find a way to use him. I hope that they're able to unlock him a little bit. I know he's a unique player, played on the offensive side of the ball. So there's a lot of intrigue there, no question about it. But it's up to Terrell Williams to find what does Keon White do best.
I just like they're building a roster on defense that looks like they're going to be able to take advantage of some mismatch, and create some mismatches and really, be a defensive team where, certain games, depending on what the offense is, we're going to be able to use Keon White a certain way. In this game, Milton Williams is going to eat because there's something going on in the middle there that he's going to be taking advantage. And we've got enough complementary players. We're building that toward being able to take advantage of situations.
Yeah, you'd like to spread the offense out, and it feels like right now the offensive line can focus on the middle and focus on giving help to protect against what Milton Williams and Christian Barmore are so good at, which is getting upfield, being disruptive. So in my mind, it's just if you have that speed guy on the outside, now it's like it's hard to give help to the tackle and the guard. You start to spread it out even more. So
it's about matchups.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on Harold Landry. To go back to the rusher he was 2 years ago and Vrabel's last year in Tennessee. Last year, there's two ways of looking at it. You can either say that he's starting to hit the wall a little bit older in his career, later on in his career, or you could say he changed systems. It wasn't a fit for him, what they were doing last year, in Tennessee, and now he's going to go back to playing in the Mike Vrabel defense that he thrived in as a Titan, and he'll be the player he was in 2023 instead of the player he was in 2024. And if they get that Harold Landry, then at least for next year, it's kind of like with Stephon Diggs, like you feel a little bit better about the outlook of the whole thing.
Matt writes in, I'm not sure what our obsession is with smaller wide receivers that are quick. I wanted a Horton-type wide receiver who was still available when we drafted Kyle Williams. Do you think Horton has a better chance of being an actual starter versus Kyle Williams?
I think Kyle Williams is fast. I don't think he's just quick.
Yeah, I had a tough time with Torrey Horton because he had a big 2023, and then he got hurt last year and missed most of the season last year. And everybody kept on telling me, go back to 2023 and watch him then and all that. And I thought that he had some flashes, but I didn't swoon over Torrey Horton. I wasn't crazy about him as a player. I thought he was pretty raw as a route runner. It doesn't really do it for me if you're just running crossing routes, away from defenders and catching balls in tons of space like that. I want to see some technical savvy, some route running ability, that sort of thing. And I think Kyle Williams is a better route runner than Torrey Horton. And has
in general,
I
like the email because I kind of feel like that. I want faster guys with some size over the smaller, quick guys. Yeah. But I think that Kyle Williams is getting sold short in that description.
Yeah, what impressed me watching a little of Kyle Williams last night was the contested catchability. Like, that was something that didn't really stick out to me initially, but number of downfield catches where he's got some guys on him, and for not being the biggest player, seems to have a pretty good knack for high pointing the ball, using his, the separation is apparent. Look at the Travis Hunter clip. We put that on Luke, but the second you take a wrong step on Kyle Williams, he's going the other way.
It's been a while since we've had a guy who when he comes here, says this is a guy who can get open.
I know, and that's what I'm so Fred. That's what I'm so interested to see in
Yeah.
camp. Because I talk all the time about when we went to the Raiders joint practice, and I'm watching Devontae Adams like, so this is what it looks like when you got a dude. Not that I'm expecting Kyle Williams to be that player, but just to see what that speed looks like. We drafted Tyquan Thornton 4.3. What's this look like? Didn't ever really look. I mean, other than warm-ups maybe when he was running over those cones, they were like, oh, Tyquan's opening it up, but you never saw it really translate. And this is something that I'm sure you guys watch plenty with guys like Edelman and Welker, just guys who, boop, boop, they're going the other way, and it's all of a sudden there's a couple feet of separation.
Nick in the Poconos writes in, great show last night. Especially enjoyed the after show. I was enjoying the late quiet of the night when everyone is asleep and no one needs anything from me. And suddenly I heard Evan's voice on a hot mic. Between Deuce dropping F-bombs and Evan complaining about the heat and his lack of remaining players on the big board, it was an entertaining listen. I was impressed on how quickly they transitioned to the professional recap when the camera started rolling, and chuckled at Evan, marveling that it didn't go off the rails at the end. It was great insight into your process. Thank you for all you do. Fred, turn down the thermostat. Was that your wrap-up show?
That was our wrap-up show that we shot, which goes
good.
with...
I didn't get caught in a hot mic.
No, that's...
What are you doing, Matt? You getting these guys in trouble?
The streams are on.
The YouTube streams must have been
Streams
still
are
live.
open.
That's okay. We were just talking ball, so nothing too
So
bad.
if you're ever listening to any of the shows, just let it go for a little while. You never know what you might get. But that was...
You might get the real Fred someday. Who knows?
I don't think I've ever gotten that.
This just ignores me.
The real Fred.
Yeah. Anybody go recently that of note? Trevor Etienne went to Georgia back, went to the Panthers.
Yeah, Woody Marks went
just
to the
went too.
Texans, who I really like Woody Marks a lot. He reminds me probably the most out of anybody in this class of James White. Like that type of player, really good change of direction.
Nick Casario really liked him because he moved up pretty far to get him.
Yeah, run on running backs, if you will, now come in. So he had Scadaboo at the top of the round, Trevor Etienne, Woody Marks, and now Jarquez Hunter from Auburn just went to the Rams. So a good fit for the Rams, outside zone back, duo back, good downhill runner, one cut ability. I like the fit for them as well. But Houston's drafted a couple guys, as they tend to do, that could have been Patriots in an alternate universe. They drafted both Iowa State wide receivers. They drafted Ariante Ursary at tackle, and now they drafted Woody Marks. So 4 guys that I easily could have seen being Patriots by the end of this draft are Texans. So you can tell that they're still kind of graded on a similar scale, those two teams, it feels like.
Mitch in Albany, do you guys also hate all the special announcers for just about every pick? I understand why they do it, but it really drags on and slows everything down. Also, would it be completely unprecedented for Shador to go totally undrafted?
I think we're kind of in unprecedented territory now.
Yeah.
For a guy that was so universally considered a first-round pick to have not been taken at all for no, arrest.
Yeah, right.
We're not talking about legal issues off field. I don't know can you think of anybody that was this universally considered to be first, second round at worst
To
talent,
go solo.
to go not.
I mean, there's been guys that slide, like Aaron Rodgers, you can consider he slided, but
do you
he was
think-
still in the first round.
He slided.
Do you think this is having a snowball effect, though, where the longer it goes, the harder it is for a team to draft him? Because now you're not only getting that circus, you're getting the circus of what made you draft
That's a
him
good
now?
point, Mike.
It just gets harder to explain.
Albert Breer actually tweeted a little while ago what we've been talking about. He said there's 2 realities that could be at play. One is Sanders fell out of the first round because of talent and performance. 2, he's still available now because of everything else. And it's kind of what we've been touching on here. Is at this point of the draft, teams are looking for depth and developmental players. If you're taken in the 3rd round or the 4th round or the 5th round, you're going to be working in the background. That would make Sanders a backup. Backup quarterbacks need to blend in with the furniture. It's kind of why Tim Tebow and Colin Kaepernick and even guys like Jay Cutler and Cam Newton had trouble extending their careers. I wonder if that's part of the fear now. What you just said, Mike.
Yeah.
So I think Albert might be onto something.
The other funny part of this whole thing, though, is that, of course, like Paul, you and I, we don't really often have bets. and yet somehow I bet that Shador Sanders was going to go in the top 15, and I owe you a sandwich.
Yeah,
I think you might owe him 3 at this point.
I know, right?
How
One for
late
each
we're
round.
going.
Double or nothing.
Yeah,
to
one
get
of
drafted
every
at all.
round. So Billy Bowman just went to the Falcons, which is one of those safeties that I was talking about earlier. It'll be interesting to see, but they put it up there on the screen. You know, he's 5'9", 190. The Patriots guy, Woodson, that the Patriots drafted, is 6 feet, 200 pounds. So I think that's probably where their mind was at with liking Woodson over some of those other guys. But I really liked Billy Bowman on tape. I think he's going to be a good player, but I think they like the size and the speed a little bit better with Woodson.
But, you know, some of the things with the guy that we took, you know, people say he does need to get a little bit more physical. He has trouble tackling at times, although he had 70 tackles last year. So,
yeah, seems like a physical guy too, but you know.
Yeah, I think the only concern that I had with him was you know, true range over the top to play center field. Like, does he tested well? He ran a 4.45, so it looks like he has that kind of speed. But will that speed translate? You know, he played in a system that wasn't quite a post safety system. He played much more split safety there at Cal. So, you know, is he going to have that ability to play a true center field post safety role? We'll see. We'll see.
the hotline, 855-PATS-500. Robbie's in California. What's up, Robbie?
Hey, guys. Really enjoying this show. Couple of comments and a few questions for you guys. I really liked the draft so far. The first couple of days really good. I'm comment about the Shador Sanders situation. I was kind of enjoying him not getting drafted because I don't like Deion Sanders and all the theater that follows him. But now I'm starting to feel bad about the poor guy. I will be disappointed if they don't come out with this draft with a couple of edge rushers. And I see that in the fifth round, they have a couple of draft picks in the late in the fifth round. I wonder if they're going to package at least one of those up to move up for someone. I wonder who would they move up for. Would it really be Jack Sawyer or somebody like that? And the second question for you guys is, they have a couple of crowded rooms, wide receiver and offensive line. I wonder, how do you see I know it's a little early, but how do you see the two rooms shaking out? Who's going to be sort of left out of the team?
Thanks, Robbie.
Elliot Wolf was asked about that last night.
I think the offensive line room is crowded.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think the wide receiver room is.
No,
but
it's 10. But Diggs,
Evan's been talking about that competition at guard. I think, does City someone's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, and it might even be somebody that we don't talk a lot about, like Tyrese Robinson.
But
I meant out of the Strange.
Yeah, so Robinson and Andrews, that foursome of.
Yeah, and now you throw, Wilson and Bradbury in there.
Yeah, especially if Wilson proves that he can play some guard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a world where they say, well, Wilson's one of our best 5 guys. So maybe Bradbury's also one of our best 5, so we'll have Bradbury play center and Wilson's going to play left guard. But that means that those 3 guys that Paul's mentioning now, you only really need 1 interior backup. You don't need 3. So at some point, one of those guys has to go.
Do they both go? Because I agree with Robbie. I think that's a little crowded right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in theory you could, if my situation does happen, and Bradbury gets hurt, you can bump Wilson to center. But I do wonder if that helps Cole Strange a little bit because he can play a little bit of center. So he can kind of back up 3 different spots there on the interior, whereas So and Robinson are true guards. It's hard to keep a guy that's a one-position backup on the offensive line. You usually have to be able to play multiple positions.
Can I ask a question? How crazy am I if I hold a very small flame of Cole Strange being a good starting left guard this year? Like highly athletic.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, small flame for that.
But if whoever it is, take the other guys that the Jake Andrewses and the City So's, and they got to go.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Layden Robinson as a year 2 guy is going to be given an opportunity.
Yep.
To see if he can do the the year 2 jump.
And I thought,
but
Evan,
yes, I don't think he's going anywhere either, Freddie, for the same reason.
Right.
You got to make sure that he has ample opportunity to
Right.
show what he has.
Well, that's why I think Evan made a good point one of these shows earlier, just about City, maybe fitting gap schemes a little bit better, feeling what Josh might want to do a little bit better, not the best suited for the wide zone stuff. But I just, like, Cole Strange, super athletic. Like, is there really nothing there? Is there? I mean, he's had little flashes where he looked solid. But it's such a wild card. I said it a couple shows ago. Like 4 years ago, he's a first-round pick, and you're telling me this guy couldn't just be at least a stopgap at left guard for a year.
Yeah.
And, he has some experience.
That's what I'm basing it on. Was like, Bill saw so much more in him than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
How he couldn't have been that wrong.
Right.
So,
right?
and I know that sounds like I'm taking a shot at Bill. No, it's actually
right.
I
totally
think so much of Bill that I can't believe that he was off by that much.
I love how you put it that way. That's because that's just that little, like I said, I'm holding this little flame of just like. He can't just be okay, like he's really athletic guy.
I'm with you, Deuce. I'm with you, Deuce. Like I think that there is that
my theory at work
possibility,
and he has some experience at center, which offers some versatility as a backup. So as Evan said, backups need to play multiple positions. So I don't know. Maybe
where I'm at
Cole
with
Strange
Cole
is my
Strange.
he's my wild card this year in camp. As could he emerge and
but
be
it's
that
going to
guy?
be interesting to see how those positions fall, and my guess is one or two of those guys won't even make it to training camp.
Sure.
You know, they're going to go through the spring, and you're going to see like
they already have a sense.
May 25th, the Patriots have released some guy that you'll know the name.
Right.
But
there's no question. I mean, Doug Marrone comes in. Every coach, there's players you like. There's players that you don't really think can do what you're going to ask them to do. And I'm sure those opinions are starting to form right now with him. And who knows what will go into it. But I think you're right, Paul. They might be a little bit heavy there. And there's only so many reps to go around.
Yeah, I really feel that the center flex for Cole Strange is what's going to help him the most. Like the fact that he truly probably could play all three interior spots, where those other two guys really can only play guard. That especially with a rookie that's a 21-year-old that had one season as a starter at Georgia, and Jared Wilson, and Bradbury's uncertainty in terms of where he's at in his career. If anything is going to save Cole Strange to me, it's that he can play a little bit of center and guard.
I mean, it's just interesting if you think about the line that way of having, Mike Onwenu at right guard, but having these athletic guys on the left side. So on the right side, you've got Morgan Moses and Onwenu, kind of the big row grading guys, and then on the other side you might have Cole Strange, who might be the most athletic guy on the line. I mean, that's what his thing was that athleticism. But again, it's how does the scheme fit into this? What are they going to ask these guys to do? But it certainly would be intriguing to me thinking about Will Campbell with his movement skills and Cole Strange being able to pull those guys, get those guys out in space, meanwhile while you're just, paving the road on the right side of the line. It's an interesting balance. We talked a lot about it.
They've done that in the past, too.
Yeah.
I always go back to Solder, Tooney, Andrews, Mason, Cannon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And they had on the right side, you had two bulldozers in Mason and Cannon. And then on the other side, you had two really good athletes in Solder and Joe Tooney. So that's typically been how McDaniels has balanced the line. On the backside, on the left side, you want to have athletes, pass protectors, guys that can do that sort of thing. And on the other side is what you run behind. So that's what they did for years.
Ben in Brooklyn says, if Sanders' fall is based on lack of athleticism, does that make Travis Hunter's accomplishments all the greater?
I think that might be part of it with why people are having some skepticism around Sanders. He had the best player in college football that was making plays for him all over the place. So you don't think that happens?
Yeah.
I think it's happened with LSU in the past. You try to figure out, well,
yeah, who's the good guy?
Zach Mettenberger is the quarterback at LSU, and he has Jeremy Hill in the backfield, and was Justin Jefferson there? What iteration of stud wide receivers did he play with at the time? And then you start to say, well, is the quarterback any good, or is he just a product of some great positional plays, skill position guys around him? Now, it's one guy here for Colorado, not a stacked offense like LSU has had in the past. So I'm not saying it's apples to apples, but you don't think that some people are looking at that and saying, Travis Hunter make anybody complete 74% of his passes with those ball skills that Travis Hunter has?
I saw that one catch, Jumps back in the end zone.
The Shador thing's annoying me. I don't care.
Well, and it's funny because I'm on Twitter and I'm like just reading, and it's so funny how different people are in such different camps. Adam Shine and Jeff Darlington are going back and forth talking about how the Dolphins might be a good landing spot for him because they like to have guys with similarities to Tua.
Pittsburgh's picking right now. They might be a good line.
See, if I were Pittsburgh, I would take him. But they're talking about they want to have similarities with Tua because Tua misses time, obviously.
Yeah.
Tua's strength, what? Accuracy. So Sanders' strength, accuracy. Good developmental guy.
Yeah.
And then, like, Joe Banner, who is obviously on the opposite side and very bitter. I don't know if you follow Joe Banner at all. He's a bitter follow on Twitter. I enjoy it. The amount of time on Sanders, who the league thinks won't even be a quality backup, is crazy. The media created this non-story, and they just can't let it go.
Pittsburgh took Jack Sawyer. They got our guy.
They got our guy.
Jack Sawyer with the mean green eyes.
So yeah, the fact that Pittsburgh keeps passing on Shador is kind of crazy. Like their quarterback depth chart is nobody. Like they literally
Mason
have
Rudolph is their starter now.
I assume their plan is Aaron Rodgers, and they know that, and they're just going to sign him after the draft. But I would think that even with Aaron Rodgers, and maybe it's Paul's thing that he's just too much of a distraction as a backup. But if you sign Aaron Rodgers to a 1-year deal, and
you're inviting distractions,
and then you draft Shador, and then Shador sits a year behind Aaron Rodgers, and then it's Shador's show next year.
I would have taken him. I would if I were Mike Tomlin, very secure, strong-willed head coach with a good program, as Fred says. I would have taken him right there.
If you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go places. All right, Matt. Probably a good time for a break.
I think it's a great time.
We'll come back. We'll get to more calls and emails, and we'll see as the Patriots get closer to the 5th round.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
And now, great moments in history.
I saw Eric before we went to the break. You were shaking your head.
What are
you upset about?
The Bengals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't deal with him. If he's going to be like this all weekend, Fred, I need more money.
It's not all weekend, Paul.
And I need more Pepsi.
We know that the Bengals already gave Joe Burrow his jersey. Why isn't the pick been made? We're 5 minutes in. Let's go.
Why are you so angry?
Picks to make.
He's tired. He needs his rest.
It's getting
Who's
close.
he tired from? We haven't done anything in 7 weeks.
I'm not tired.
Eric, who is never
not
bored,
tired.
is suddenly bored waiting for this pick.
Yes.
I am
Eric
bored
is
by
never
this.
bored. Never
Thank you,
bored.
Megan O'Brien.
You're right, Megan. We finally found something that bores me. The friggin' Bengals.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here in Patriots Unfiltered, 855-PATS-500 is the
5
hotline.
minutes into the draft and he went on a
He's already
tirade.
Will this thing just be over, goddamn it?
Could two people be more alike and more dissimilar than me and Eric? Like we are kind of alike in some ways,
Yeah,
but
but,
like
but you love the subject matter.
Right,
He
right,
hated
right,
the
right.
subject
Right,
matter.
that's therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Therein lies the
You
problem.
need to be a character, you know. And it's
you didn't like football, so what are you doing?
Right.
working for the team,
Right.
like literally, like not even.
He thought Fred and I, and especially Andy, were so beneath him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
No.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you were.
well, I'm beneath everybody. I mean, that's why everybody's passed me by. We had another visit from a former Patriots employee this week, a former member of the Media Relations Department, Casey O'Connell.
Oh, yeah.
Who hasn't been with the organization since like 2008. It's like a partner at a law firm now. Just like yet another one. Just pass Paulie by.
living a much better life.
Living a much better life. Well put. Well put, Ev.
Well, everyone's been waiting to hear his opinion of Kyle Williams. Eldred from North Carolina is on the line. What's up,
Could have
Eldred?
been either.
Oh, you're driving on Saturday, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, I work Tuesday through Saturdays. I'm up on Sundays and Mondays so I can watch the football game.
Okay.
And love Henderson pick because, like I said, I like Ohio State. And I like the running backs and the receivers. Kyle Williams, well, I wish we would have got Trey Harris or maybe Burke. Even though Evan was talking about him, doing the thing. I sort of looked at him a little bit more. Yes. Kyle Williams, they said, is still in his number 3 receiver. Don't we have enough number 3s on the roster?
Yeah, I don't know. Where he'll stack up. I couldn't tell you that today, but I what I like so much about him is that he brings a level of speed and separation that in a bigger frame than somebody like a Pop Douglas. The only guy on the roster they have that separates like him is probably Pop, but Pop's 5'9", 180 pounds. This guy's got some size to him compared to that.
Got an inch over him.
Yeah, but other than that, I love the draft so far. But I wish instead of him getting that center, I wish they got an edge rusher or maybe another wide receiver. I hope they get Thornton in the 4th or the 5th.
Thornton's gone.
He got drafted.
Eldred Thornton's gone.
Yeah, your boy got drafted by the Raiders
Very cliche.
in one of the more predictable
That's
picks.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gone. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Eldred.
Disappointment in his voice.
All right, let's go to Tim in Phoenix. What's up, Tim?
I was hoping he'd be more excited about Kyle Williams.
Good morning, Phyllis. How are you?
Good morning.
I got to say, I like the fact that we're trading our checker pieces for some chess pieces. Very happy with the draft. I got two things. One from Deuce. Have you heard anything about this rivalry gear and these uniforms and fan gear?
Yeah, I have.
What's going on with that?
Yeah, so new uniforms this year.
The AFC East?
Yeah, the AFC East. So all 4 teams will have a uniform that they'll wear, I believe, just once, I think, but against each other within the division. So, yeah, it'll be a new uniform. I think it's out this summer sometime is when they'll reveal it. But, yeah, they'll get all kinds of swag and everything. It's a whole new deal.
Yeah, it's a whole program that the league is doing to create these rivalries. And AFC East, and what was the other conference, the division that got picked?
NFC West.
NFC West, yeah.
Yeah, so they're the only 2 divisions that are going to be wearing them this year, but they'll bring in the rest of the league over time. So, I don't know, it's one game, but there is merchandise tied to it that you'll be able to buy starting this summer. So we'll see what it looks like. Hopefully it's pretty cool.
Did you guys hear the report from Nesson about the division over the second-round pick in the Patriots draft room?
It wasn't a report. Elliot Wolf told everybody at the press conference last night that happened, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't say who the debate was about, just that the pick was picked before.
Yeah.
And so we don't know. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? What were the sides, I guess you could say? Who was on what side? Where do you think the division was in that room?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Like in terms of like the
who wanted. If we were going to say it's Jaden, if we were going to say it was Jaden Higgins, I think that was what we were kind of speculating.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense just because they took a receiver in the next round, so you would think that. I also thought Jonas Savania from Arizona was another guy that could have Patriot potential written all over him. Tackle, guard, flex, someone like that. So maybe they wanted to. We're considering at least, going trenches again and really beefing up the offensive line. Then they ended up taking, Wilson a couple picks later. So they ended up taking an interior offensive lineman as well.
It would be interesting
between those 2 guys.
Like Tim said.
Now Kennard goes.
Who wanted who?
Here's the
and then who broke the tie? Was it Vrabel, in fact, that said, okay, this is what we're doing?
Yeah.
The report said that the person that the debate was picked before the Patriots pick came up, so the debate was kind of ended.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what Elliot said.
So it got solved.
Yeah.
For
So
nobody won.
Yeah. So Jonas Savania, the guard from Arizona, was picked 37 by the Dolphins, and the Dolphins traded into that pick to take him.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it stands to reason the Patriots were probably interested in him.
Yeah. All right, Tim, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
So Doug Marrone wanted him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speculate who wanted who, but if I had to guess, I would put my money on one of those 2 guys, Higgins or Savania.
Martin writes in, it's really nice to watch the draft with all of you, especially for your live reactions. I have 2 suggestions to make the listener experience even better. For the people whining about being tipped before the main TV show in the first round, you could tip the pick, but in a more theatrical way, like by saying it the way they do on the stage, maybe with the draft chime also. More often than not, I'm an archive listener, and it would be nice if you could tell the pick position all the time when you announce them. This way it would be easier to scroll through the show for certain parts of the draft, or you could make Matt work more and have him add the latest pick at the bottom of the screen. Okay.
I had an idea. Do you think there'd be an appetite at all for, hey, I like the sound, an appetite at all for a video, just best moments from the draft shows? Maybe go through and do like a 5-minute little cut up of, funny laughs and announcing the picks and, something like that. Maybe the fans, maybe you like that, guys. Let us know.
Sure. Let's see. Jason writes in, guys, Kyle Williams, something, he is not small, he has in quotes, as he's about 6 feet. Well, no, he's 5'10", right?
Almost, yeah, 5'10" and change.
5'10" and change. I think he's about my size, actually.
He's almost
5'11", 195.
He's almost 5'11".
So he's almost 6 feet, if we really want to consider it that way.
He's closer to 5'11" than he is 6 feet,
yeah,
right?
Correct. He's under 5'11".
Right.
Yeah.
And another point of some comfort is he was widely viewed positively by the media scouts like Daniel Jeremiah, Mike Renner. The pick was applauded, whereas when Tyquan was picked, all of those raised eyebrows. Mm-hmm. And on Shador, now you're talking about drafting a backup, And would any team want their backup to bring that kind of attention to the team?
Right.
Yeah, that's the point that Paul made.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Jalen Travis, interesting pick. Developmental tackles are starting to go now. But, yeah, I mean, none of us have to be sold on Kyle Williams. I think we all are pretty excited about that.
We spent like 2 hours talking about him before they picked him.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing, though. It's like, hearing Evan, random names pop up. Now I'm starting to be like, I don't know who these guys are.
You're at that point?
That's how does it like to believe we're getting to the fifth round.
I got there late last night.
But now I'm wondering,
a couple of guys I did not.
Like, what do we do with Eric on day 3? Like, what did he didn't even know the day 1 guy.
Jalen Lane.
Eric barely came on day 3.
I thought Jalen Travis would be an interesting pick for them as like a flyer at tackle, developmental tackle, a huge dude, like 6'6", 340, 350, a good athlete. I was interested in him at this point of the draft, maybe a little bit later, as if they wanted to double dip and get, the sure thing with Campbell, but maybe get like a developmental tackle on day 3 with some tools, some upside.
I like this kid Jalen Lane too.
He's fast.
He was one of my.
You want fast guys?
Yeah, I know. He was on my BB. Same thing though. Same thing we've been talking about.
Even in the 4th round, they get up and hug.
Yeah, a fast guy, like kind of a gadget player.
Is that Izzo?
Little Mecole Hardman to his
Is that Larry
game.
Izzo on the front?
H to the Izzo. Oh, those like him. Yeah.
Yeah.
special
Remember we used to do the
teams
movie review with Larry Izzo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Random Moments with Paul Perillo.
Really?
Yeah, he was big movie guy. Kirk writes in, happy Saturday. He's from Burlington, Ontario. Thought we could have picked better than Cal's Woodson. I thought Ranson is better.
He got taken within 10 picks.
Yeah.
I also the Ohio State safety, right, Ransom?
Yeah.
I also thought David Walker was the best defensive player. He reminds me of Elvis Dumerville.
Oh,
yeah, David Walker's a freak.
I
6
loved
feet tall.
Elvis Dumerville.
Really small school prospect from Central Arkansas, but when you watch those guys, you want them to dominate, and especially with power, he dominated. I mean, he would just ragdoll dudes at that level. I was lukewarm on him. He's not a great athlete. I think he's more of a box safety, closer to the line of scrimmage. I think Woodson is more of a guy that can play from depth and play deeper down the field and maybe even play in center field.
He went about 15, 16 picks after.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point about the safeties. I keep saying Billy Bowman went, Latham Racem went. Patriots took Woodson at the top of the round, and it'll be interesting to see, in 2 years, which ones end up being better.
What's funny though is something tells me that won't generate the amount of attention of the wide receivers.
Right.
Everybody can rattle off the wide receiver. Well, I mean, we all remember that trio of safeties that went in the 4th round back in 25. No one's gonna,
because we're absolute sickos. Catch-22.
Yeah, you and Alex can have a good battle.
We'll talk 20 minutes about them taking.
I told you I should have gotten Billy Bowman. Jim Bowman played for the Patriots in like the mid '80s.
That could be your tagline. Catch-22 will remember.
Yeah. Did you check in with Barthy on your ride home last night? Was he?
No, he was still working. So I tried calling him, but he wasn't ready to talk yet. So we'll probably talk tonight.
He wasn't ready to talk.
They gotta have a debrief.
My notes.
No,
I'm not there yet.
So nothing will beat.
Mr. Barthy, you ready for your close-up?
After UDFAs.
Nothing will beat the Cole Strange draft, and him and I spent about an hour and a half on the phone trying to talk each other off the ledge, and the two of us, and Jess is sleeping in the other room, and she comes in and she's like, "You're screaming! It's 2:00 in the morning. Like, can we go to bed?" And I was like, "They drafted a guard."
From Chattanooga.
And she's still with him. Like, oh my God, this is so funny.
It's all gonna be made
Can
right.
you go to bed? This is ridiculous.
I remember her looking into. I think we were on FaceTime or something. And I remember her looking at Alex and being like, "He's going to bed now, all right?"
And they're doing it on FaceTime. It's the other thing, so they can see each other. Just get married already.
Facial expressions are important.
We were.
I mean, are you just saying you like the pick, or do you mean it? I need to see your face.
We were in a tough spot that night. We were down.
Oh boy.
Don't do it to me.
I don't know what to say.
Oh no.
The Patriots have drafted offensive lineman Cole Strange from Chattanooga.
Okay, we don't need to keep
with the 29th.
It gets worse from here.
Is that his ransom note?
Yeah.
Little blackmail there?
Compromise. Kirk also says, I hope they consider Torrey Horton. his comp is Devontae Smith, and if he didn't get injured, he would be a top wide receiver in this draft. Do we agree with that assessment?
Do you think you'd ever get to the point where the general sentiment would be like they drafted too many wide receivers? Like they just people will never ever have enough wide receivers. Like just always give them.
Concerning Sanders, I don't think any head coach is signing off on this legendary player because if they pick him, then in 1 year, Dion may be lurking around the corner for their jobs. Of course,
I do think that that's an element of this.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, that's just part of it. The entitled attitude is the main issue. I thought he was accurate as I watched quite a few of his games. He holds on to the ball because he thinks he can be the hero and make every play.
Did he say he thought he was inaccurate?
No, he thought he was accurate.
Oh, okay. Because that's the one thing that most scouts are in 100% agreement on.
He thought he was accurate. Do you think Dion has the capacity to, on reflection, say, you know what, I might have really hurt my son?
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wonder.
I think the train's left the station on that
like
one.
Maybe in my enthusiasm, because I think I'm helping him, I actually hurt him.
I mean, I mean, as a dad, that's a hard place to be, feeling like you screwed up your son's chance at his dream.
Right.
Like that's a really, really hard place to be. I don't know. But it's hard to see him having that kind of reflective attitude, and ultimately, I think they're just going to blame the media, and say
it'll be
their fault.
It'll be someone else's fault.
So the Jets are taking Malachi Moore, the safety from Alabama. So we'll remember Billy Bowman, Malachi Moore.
You like him better too, huh?
Yeah, go later in the 4th round. So a little run on safeties here in the 4th round.
Oh, and what do I see on the track? The ticker, there it is, NE, coming down the bend.
Teddy Buchanan.
Yeah.
Ted Yee.
Went to the Ravens.
Ted Yee.
Ted Yee.
Yep.
So you saw some reports periodically over the course of, say, like the last 6 months where what would make sense is, hiring Dion and then letting him be,
Get him
Chicago.
Travis Hunter
Make
and
it a package
They probably
deal.
could have done it.
Or, the Giants, get rid of Dable and let him. Don't think that that's not part of this now. So I'm going to have him as my backup quarterback, and then
head coach in waiting.
Now all of a sudden it doesn't go well, and I'm out. And he's waiting in the wings.
And then the ownership's got to interview head coach candidates, and
I don't think that that's all that far fetched.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that's the reason. I'm saying that
I
is
know.
Some percentage.
I heard somebody say, well, he's not going to do that. He's got enough on his plate being the head coach of Colorado. He'll find time.
Oh, yeah.
He'll find
Coach's
time
son in the
to
NFL.
get involved.
I mean, the whole Belichick Falcons thing, I think, is a little bit of an example of that, of where the front office revolts a little bit because they see it as a power play and that they're going to lose power.
They're going to lose their jobs.
Yeah. And believe me, these guys are worried about that every day.
Yeah.
Every day is a opportunity or a reason to
And it happens so fast. I think, I really noticed it going to the combine for, I guess, for 5 years or whatever it's been now, that it's just all of a sudden there's a new guy. Oh, now this guy's the new head coach, and it changes so fast in this league.
It wouldn't be a show if we didn't have Christian from LA to enrage everyone. What's up, Christian?
Yeah, hey, you guys. Good morning or good afternoon out there where you guys are. I am in, of course, La La Land where it's raining today, just like me. And I just want to say this. To the LA and Christian LA haters, I am not an actor. In case you guys haven't been listening out there in Radio Land, I am the owner of a personal assistant app called Wait Number 4 Me. I am not an actor. I am a tech.
I thought yesterday's performance was either alcohol infused. I thought it was a little bit put on, Christian.
Whether you thought it or not, I was angry because I saw this team going in the wrong direction. I've been a fan of this team since 1979. I've met Mr. Kraft personally, had a conversation with him. I've been listening to this show for 10 years. I've been calling into this show for 5 years. And if I was angry, it was because I saw Vrabel doing what I thought was going to make Tennessee Titans 2.0. And it enraged me because I love this team. I am in for this team, and I will die for this team on the football field if I could. But I can't. So the most I can do is call in and express myself and express my opinion. Now, with that said, and I'm going to lower my blood pressure, I do like what we're doing on the back end of the draft. I'm turned around completely. Vrabel, you're back in my good graces. I will say this.
All it took was Kyle Williams.
Sneakily, Yes, Tom Brady has sneakily stole two of my picks. I do love Kyle Williams. I think he's going to be a big star for us. But I do wonder, do we have an aversion to guys that are 6 foot and above? Why can't we ever draft a receiver who's above 6 foot?
Would you rather a above 6 foot receiver that can't get open or a sub 6 foot receiver that does get open?
No, and but he's not alone. A lot of
No,
fans
I'm asking
think
it
that way.
seriously.
But the thing is, the 6 foot plus receivers that are good
that can't
are
get
rare.
open. Those are the first round picks.
Right. Well, that's my point. Right. You know, like you're not going to in the third round. You weren't going to get you're not getting DK Metcalf in the third round. Yeah, that's
Tom Brady just took DK Metcalf part 2.
Who?
Okay. You're talking
Tom Brady.
about Dante Thornton?
This guy is DK Metcalf part 2.
Okay.
Based off what?
We'll see. Maybe there's another guy like that ends up happening. I think that DK Metcalf is a little bit of an outlier, but we'll see. Maybe this guy will be the DK Metcalf part 2. You might be right.
DK Metcalf had much better college production than Dante
I agree.
Thornton. He was a much better college
DK
player.
Metcalf did not run a 4.340 either.
Yeah, he did.
4.3 at 6'5".
Yeah, he did.
But so on Kyle Williams, before I go, do we have
Just
a
gloss
coach
over that.
that can teach hand fighting? Because that seems to be the thing on Kyle Williams is he's good, he's a great separator, but he separates with his feet instead of his hands at the line. Do our wide receiver coaches, have they had any sort of, like it's part of their background that they were good hand fighters at the line?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not
Well,
sure.
he's got a nice release package to his game, but I would say
for him.
Christian's is right that I wouldn't call him a physical player. I think he wins with his feet. He wins with speed and separation. Yeah.
I'm like, I've been dying for this for years now. Like, to have a guy who can win with his feet, like, instead of
he's
physical.
Just don't have Devontae Parker just throwing balls up to him and hope that he can out jump a guy or win a battle.
Out physical people.
Yeah, I'm not going to get bogged down in he needs to have better hand fighting at the line to get off press man. If I watch him at training camp and he doesn't look like he's one of those guys that gets open, Aaron Dobson was a guy that I watched in college. I didn't like him because he didn't ever seem like he was open. Whether he used his hands or he tried to get open with his feet, however he tried to do it, he didn't get open.
Yeah.
This guy, when I watch him on highlights, admittedly highlights, which you're seeing a lot of good stuff, he gets open.
I mean, it's so simplified, but it's so true. And I can't tell you how many training camps I've sat through where it's just, we watch the practice and then we all meander down as we're waiting for the interviews to begin, and you just hear, there's nobody open. Nobody can get open. Like, you just hear people always saying that, and that's, going to be the number one
Usually
thing
it
I'm looking
starts
for.
with, there goes Paul again, making fun of Tyquan Thornton.
I was thinking of Giardi.
Jalen Polk.
Giardi's a big no one's open guy.
Yeah.
He's all, no one's open. No, like,
I would, just to, tell the complete story here about like that is the one concern that you have is like playing through contact and play strength and dealing with physical coverage at this level and all that kind of stuff. If he doesn't work out, that's probably going to be why. It's probably going to be because he can't get off press and he can't get off physical coverage. So once we get out to training camp and real training camp with the pads on and all that kind of stuff, let's see what he looks like against Carlton Davis. Let's see what he looks like against a physical corner that has that kind of skill set, and we'll see if he can get open against him. But if that's what that's the small C concern right now with Kyle Williams in terms of you look at every prospect. Like, if this guy fails, what will the reason be? If he fails, it's going to be play strength, finishing through contact, that kind of stuff.
But I mean, put it in context too. You spoke yesterday about what they might need to do to help Will Campbell out a little bit, and that's what I think. I'm hopeful with Josh McDaniels is that he's creative. If Kyle Williams is having trouble getting off press or getting him, he's going to get him away. He's going to motion him. He's going to buy him some space so that he can maybe build up some speed. So I have confidence that Josh McDaniels is going to be able to put these pieces together. But man, he must be in the lab right now, just looking at like Henderson. Oh yeah, we got this guy here. What?
It's a great point about moving him around the formation, and that's probably where his best long-term role is playing off the line and letting him release off of stacks and bunch alignments and out of the slot and things like that, where he's going to get away from the physical coverage a little bit and allow him to just get off the line quickly. But you hope that he's able to be pressed on the outside like he did a little bit in college, and then now that's a complete receiver. Now we're talking about a guy that can do a little bit of everything, that elevates his ceiling even more. He showed flashes of it certainly at Washington State. I mean, he ran right by Travis Hunter. Like, I know we keep bringing it up, but like those are the reps when you watch him on the outside, when he beats Travis Hunter in press and runs right by him, that you say, well, if he can do that at the next level, then this guy's going to be a real player.
Yeah.
Scott in San Diego writes in, here's the transcript from Christian from LA's conversation with Mr. Kraft. Christian, I own 6 homes, including a villa in Biarritz and a mountain estate in Aspen. Mr. Kraft, I don't care. Pack up your pup tent and get off my lawn. Could have done something like that.
I think Christian's really leaned into his.
Well, that's okay.
I told you he's taking a heel turn.
It's like he's become a character.
It's like John Cena. It's like he's going heel.
We've had
after
all
in his
this
voice
time
that I haven't heard before. That it's
we've had a couple of those over the. Mark in the Bay was one that
embracing the
he
villain
embraced
role.
it.
He didn't take a heel turn though. He was just always a heel.
Yeah,
he harassed Eric, right?
Mark in the Bay.
Where he'd have like
the
poems
two of
about
them
Eric.
We used to fight with Eric.
Yeah,
it's like blood in the water.
But these guys that are getting taken, right? Late day 2, day 3 wide receivers. They're going to have, like, in the negative column, the strengths and weaknesses. The weaknesses are going to be visible. That's why they're there. The guy that everybody wants, this perfect prospect in Dante Thornton. Well, what's his negative? I don't know. He caught like 20 passes last year, or 25. Like. If I'm going to have a guy that has some weaknesses, at least give me some production. And Kyle Williams had that. I would much rather have Kyle Williams than Thornton.
100%. I mean, I was totally on board with taking a flyer on Thornton today. Like, if they hadn't taken a receiver yet and they just wanted to throw a 5th-round pick at Dante Thornton.
I'm enamored with that skill set. Like, I like the big, as much as you mock me, Mike, I like the big X. Yeah, I like the big outside guys that can get down the field and take the top off the defense and all that stuff. I like that.
But Calvin Johnson's are hard to find.
But you need to have some production to go with it.
Yeah, I understand. If you look at just the raw measurables of him, being similar to DK Metcalf strictly from a size-speed ratio. But DK Metcalf was only reason why DK Metcalf fell to the second round was because of injury. He had an injury in college his last year, and so he fell to the second round. He was a much better prospect than Dante Thornton.
Brian says, whose attitude is worse, Shador Sanders or Christian in L.A.?
I thought he was going to say me for a second, actually.
It's funny. I thought he was going to say me.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good.
See, we laugh, but all these emails are coming in about Christian from L.A.
No, I know. That's why I think he's taking a heel turn.
Good for him.
He's embracing engagement. I like it.
Henry writes in from Montana, to the last caller's point that we can't draft a receiver over 6 feet. N'Keal Harry is 6'2". Tyquan Thornton was 6'2". How'd those picks go?
Draft a good one.
Yeah.
A good one, though.
I've always just been a sucker for
Thornton would have been the next
speed.
one in that line.
I'm always just a sucker for the guys like Kyle Williams, like the separators, the speed, good with the ball in your hands, like that. I would much rather build around that kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't know if I've been scarred by some of the Patriots picks, but for me, like the contested catch guys, when that's their big trait, I shy away from it. I feel like that's very specific skill set that's hard to be consistent and sustain, and people talk about it like it's an absolute
you can't rely on it.
Well, you need a jump ball guy, right? Like, why not just have guys that can catch the ball and run with it? That to me is
I mean, I'm not saying that if you want to round out the room so you have one of those guys in the room that can do it.
I like having some size, but I'm fine with Matt Collins. Like, great, we got a tall receiver who's playing special teams. We'll throw him on the outside for a couple snaps a game, but for the most part, you want to be doing it with your volume guys, and especially after the catch. That's just where I think they've really struggled to produce. I mean, you talk about catch the ball, fall down with, back in the day with, what was my old guy's, Philip Dorsett. He was my
Patriots
catch the
had a
ball.
lot
He's
of them.
fast.
They used to tell Dion to do that.
I liked how
Dion
did it, though.
Catch a ball, get down.
He stayed healthy, at least.
Eddie in L.A., to the people upset about Kyle Williams' size, did they forget about Max Hollins? I know he's probably reached his ceiling as a player, but he's still a guy who proved himself in the league, and I'd rather have Hollins than take a flyer on a big wide receiver in the 3rd round or after.
Yeah, I just there weren't any receivers, and I said this before the draft like numerous times. Like the big outside X receiver did not really exist in this draft past Ted McMillan and Jaden Higgins. Like, those were the two guys. I guess if you like Trey Harris from Ole Miss, you could throw him in there too, but he went 55th to the Chargers. He went early. So, like, there weren't a ton of that in this draft. There was a lot more, Jalen Royals just went. Obviously the Patriots drafted Kyle Williams. Like, there was a lot more of that kind of receiver in this group, and there was, like, the big outside guys. That's why Thornton went early. Like, Thornton went probably a round earlier than I think he probably should have, because they wanted that type of receiver, and there just isn't any of them available, so they ended up taking him a little bit earlier.
Royals to the Chiefs, too, so.
Ooh. That's a good pick by them.
Yeah.
Jared writes in, I checked out of the podcast and following the team after the end of the season, but I'm back now.
Oh, nice.
Fred, bottom line, for me, we were the worst in our division last year. Where do you think we are now? I think we're number 2.
With a sniff.
With a sniff.
I mean, I would hope that they can get ahead of the Jets with Justin Fields. Miami to me is the interesting one, because I find Miami so frustrating because they can't beat Tua. But for some reason, Miami can never beat good teams. So the Patriots have never really been a good team against Tua overall. But if there's something that Mike Vrabel wants to hang his hat on with this team, I would hope it's beating a team like Miami, at least here, especially if it gets cold out. But that's the toughness, and trying to slow them down. They've just been powerless against Tua.
I think Miami's impossible to predict, because you just don't. I think there's so much uncertainty.
Is Tyreek Hill back? Is he not back?
Yeah. If Tua, if you're going to tell me Tua is going to be there, be dependable, and be reliable, and they know it, and everything falls accordingly, then I think there'll be a tough out. But you can't do that.
Here's a prediction, an April prediction for the 2025 season. By November, no later than Thanksgiving, we're going to be talking about Mike McDaniel being on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Quay Robinson to the Broncos. Those edges.
Paul
are
rolls
just
his eyes.
One.
No, I'm not rolling my eyes. I think he was on the hot seat last year. I just don't think it's all that, bold of a pick. I mean, if Tua gets hurt again,
he's going to be the presentation.
He's going to be on the hot seat. Yeah. I mean, he just signed an extension last year, and he was on the hot seat. McDaniel.
We get so many calls acting to predict what their record's going to be, what's the floor, what's the ceiling, all that. Maybe to oversimplify it, and I'm a big look at the division guy. Road to the playoffs, goes through the division. You win your division, you get in. But I look at Miami as maybe a good barometer this year of can you get over that hump a little bit? Can you figure out Tua? Can you solve that? Because they just, whenever that offense is humming with Tua, the Patriots have just seemed man, we can't, he's completing 90% of his passes, it feels like. It's just drop back.
The game down in Miami last year was brutal.
I mean, it was just barely competitive.
And I don't get it, because then you watch another team that's good, and they go up against them, and you're like, where is this Miami team when the Patriots play them? Somehow the Patriots could never force them to be that team. And, with Vrabel, the toughness, the speed that they're adding, the aggressiveness on defense. I also wonder, we talk about this a lot with the Patriots defense, in the past, relying more on two-gapping. When you have Tua, who gets the ball out quick, and you're not even in the zip code of disrupting him when he's getting that ball out under 2 seconds, maybe now with this defensive shift, they're going to be more aggressive, getting after him. You're going to have Milton Williams, Christian Barmore getting upfield and causing that kind of quick hesitation where you see then it unravels for Tua in some games that the Patriots, frankly, just haven't been able to get him to that point.
I think the Patriots will have every opportunity to move ahead of the Jets and the Dolphins, but I'm not telling you that they will.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty, and we're talking about Tua being hurt. Well,
I'm telling you.
What if these other guys for the Patriots that we're relying on get hurt? Last year, the Patriots had some injuries.
Well, then I'll have an excuse. I'll say, well, they would have.
No. I know that. I'm not. This is sort of answering the email, not you're unabashed. Woo! Woo! If you can't do that on draft weekend, I mean, there's no call for that if you can't do it now.
I don't know. There's been some pretty bad drafts.
Yeah.
I wasn't wooing that much, but
I don't know. It does make me feel optimistic though, because we're so close to the Patriots and so close to the team that sometimes it's good to listen to what some of the national guys feel about what they've done, and especially at the end of last night, there were a lot of people that I saw. Brett Coleman, he posted the Patriots offensive depth chart, and we're like, okay, I can see where they're kind of going with this. There's some pieces here now that I like, and so that's always good to see people on the national stage that have no allegiances whatsoever to the Patriots and have no fan in their
I just feel like there's a lot of that. And I feel, we talked about this before the show, I feel there's way more excitement around the Patriots right now in this, in the Vrabel sort of
Collective.
arrival than there has been in recent years. But like, I can go back last year and find the Sports Illustrated guy, Connor Orr, who picked the Patriots to win the division.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I could do that too. I work here and I can get on board and I can be all, over the top enthusiastic and embrace my sunshine.com persona, but I just don't believe that. I never believed that the Patriots were in the same stratosphere as the Bills. Yeah. So how am I going to pick them to beat the Bills last year? I'm not even talking about now. This was 2 years ago. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
So I don't really like the fact that national guys are embracing what they're doing. I don't really care. But around here, I do care.
Yeah.
And the groundswell of sort of enthusiasm and excitement with the same people that have been really down the last 2 years, winning 4 games each of the last 2 years. Those same people are now starting to say, hey, there's a chance. Like, there was an argument between Mark Bertrand and Phil Perry yesterday, about where the Patriots could potentially be picking. Beadle was saying that they should have been interested in that kind of a trade that the Browns and the Jags did, right? And his reasoning was they shouldn't be expecting to have a high pick in next year's draft. They should be expecting to win 8, 9, 10 games and be in the playoffs. And Phil Perry said, wow, I mean, that's really optimistic. That you're potentially giving away another top 10 pick. And that was sort of the crux of their argument was, no, it's not going to be a top 10 pick. Yeah. And it was a legitimate argument that Bertrand was saying, no, they're not going to pick in the top 10 next year. They've done too much. Not that I'm taking their word as gospel, but I'm much more interested in those guys because those are the guys that have been really down about the state of the team and where it's been and the lack of talent because they see what they did in free agency and they're heading into a draft where they get Will Campbell and now they pick up a couple other pieces on day 2. I think there's legit excitement and enthusiasm. Our numbers are showing it.
Yeah,
the people that are listening and watching way higher than last year.
Especially it's easy to forget about what they did in free agency and the fact that they went out and signed Milton Williams, who was probably the top free agent in the entire class this year, and they added Carlton Davis, too, as a starting caliber corner on the outside. Like, they added the pieces on defense that got the defense operational, and now you hope that these picks work out and they hit on a couple of these guys on offense, and then the offense is suddenly operational as well. So there's a lot of reason to be very, like, I kind of come down on it. I was talking to Barth about this yesterday. I kind of, like, we're almost afraid to be too excited about what they've done because you don't want to get too worked up about it and too pom-pom wavy. But the point is, I've loved their draft so far. Like, I really have. I think they've done a really nice job. Like,
I think that's the whole thing. It's you see the vision.
Yeah.
You see the method. Whereas in the past it's like it was okay. We would rightfully question, like, what are we doing? Like, where's the plan?
That's why I mean.
But you see some logic to what's happening here.
I think there's just momentum building, and it's been building. I mean, really since the team hired Mike Vrabel, who is beloved around here, who I think is really seen as one of the key pieces of the dynasty, and really representing what people love most about that early Patriots dynasty with the first 3 championships. But between bringing in Vrabel, between the free agency period and now the draft, they've really stacked some strong moves that I think everybody sees the method to the madness. We traded up.
Yeah, I think we might have a little action.
We are on the board. We are on the board right now.
Okay.
We are on the board.
Pick 137.
Give me that edge.
Okay.
Give me that edge.
Give me
the edge, Elliot.
We traded with Seattle to get to 137.
All right.
Give them to me.
Okay, so we hopped over the 49ers.
Yeah, it looks like they still have that 8th pick in the 5th round.
So we got some action here.
The pick is in.
Pick is in.
All right.
The red light is on, and the pick is in.
Tell me now.
Why don't you just tell me who we picked?
I'm told that they're on the phone with the player right now. So, good stuff. Little action at the end of the hour here.
We'll see.
I know. Mike,
the
action is the juice.
The action is the juice. Wondering maybe they ditched that 3rd, 5th pick that they had.
Pick is in.
Who's it going to be? We don't know.
Okay.
There's the room.
We're still waiting.
Where's No Socks? They got him out. I heard they kicked him out today.
Yeah, I think this will be a good harvest. This pick.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, you reap what you sow.
Then like in Iowa, maybe something like that. Maybe.
Oh, the tight end from Iowa, Lackey.
I'm not saying.
They traded 144 and 238 for 137, according to the Twitter machine.
Okay.
So 238.
So they
that was their
238,
last pick of the draft.
Correct. So they
gonna end it a little earlier, apparently.
Fifth rounder.
Old MacDonald had a farm.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess that I don't know the player. I don't know the player.
I don't know.
With Fred's.
We're definitely into the point. The only guys I know now are skill guys, like the Stanford receiver I knew, Io Manor.
Ayao.
Okay.
Well,
the phone call is concluded.
Well, we have the trade details, but we do not have the player that they picked.
Well, Fred does, but he's just being coy.
Oh, okay.
Well, I could be getting wrong information, so I don't want to throw it out there.
I hope you're not Fred. That would be.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, have a draft. Let's go. Heck yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
So the pick is in. It's Joshua Farmer.
Joshua Farmer from Florida State. Elliott Wolf and Mike Vrabel take a bow. You got Deuce's edge rusher. He's happy over there.
Yeah.
We're all happy about this one. A couple of things that stand out to me about Joshua Farmer. First of all, we talk a lot about arm length in this draft class for a good reason there at the top. Joshua Farmer, I believe, I'm pulling it up right now, has 35-inch arms.
Yeah,
So
confirmed.
this guy has a ton of length. He is a developmental prospect, I would say, with great raw measurables, 6'3", 305 pounds, 35-inch arms. I wrote plus play strength, snap quickness, good initial get off, and pop into engagements on the line of scrimmage. So this is a guy that can really get up the field, separate, get off blocks, and has a lot of developmental upside. I think there's some technique things that he's going to have to improve upon as we progress here. But all Deuce and I wanted was somebody that Terrell Williams and Mike Vrabel could sink their teeth into and develop and get the most out of potentially down the road. And Joshua Farmer certainly checks all of those boxes. This is a guy that's got some real upside to his game.
So on the TV, Leo Ortiz, he plays for Flamengo, I think, is one of the top Brazilian soccer teams. Announced the pick from Brazil. So that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, still some uncertainty with Christian Barmore as well, and adding in another layer of this. I don't know if he's necessarily going to play pure edge. Seems to me a little bit more like an interior guy.
I mean, they're listing him as a defensive tackle.
Yeah. So, but even still, I think this is just getting some youth, getting, as Evan said, a piece of a raw guy that they can.
I
develop.
like our draft room. They're not all like.
Well, they already did it.
No, they're
They
sitting
showed
there.
it on the first.
Stop it! What is this?
On the first pick? They all got up because we saw No Socks. He was part of it.
Did he?
Yeah,
Okay.
they all got up and they were all
Wow.
shaking hands and hugging and stuff. And I was like, we just do
Did
this
No
on every
Socks get
pick.
dapped up in the draft?
No.
No one dapped
he was,
him up.
He was there in the background though.
So everybody is wearing these orange T-shirts in all the draft rooms. It says "Your light lives on in all of us," and then it's the initial CCT under it. So, but this is like league wide. Like
Closed
I see
circuit
this in
television?
all the draft rooms. So I don't know who or what CCT is.
I don't know.
So just to let everybody know, the Patriots still have the 8th pick in the 5th round.
Yeah, they're coming up.
So
they're coming back up.
Can we make an executive decision? We'll hang on to this pick, Freddie?
Yeah.
I know we said we would be done at 2, but we should probably stick around.
Yeah, we
for
got
the,
one, and then it's
for the top of the 5th round. Then you got the Mike Dussault donut.
Yeah, well, I think they still have 35 in this round. So it is. I mean, it is a
that's-
little bit of
that's
a
a long
donut,
way.
and then it's a big donut the whole 6th
All right.
round.
So in that case, let's take a break, Matt. We'll come back. It's 1:57, but we're going to stick around until that other pick in the 5th round for the Patriots. But they've added Joshua Farmer.
Love it.
You got your defense.
a little bit.
All right.
I like it.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like my plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get my plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get my plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
Confidence. It's important to have when you're on the road. With Bridgestone tires on your car, truck, SUV, or minivan, you're riding on tires you can trust. Bridgestone tires are engineered to give you peace of mind so you can focus on enjoying the journey. So whether you're on your morning commute, a cross-country road trip, or a relaxing Sunday drive, Bridgestone tires will be with you wherever life's roads may lead. Bridgestone, solutions for your journey, available now at Sullivan Tire. All right, I need tires. I need to get some tires.
I need brakes.
Tough. Those
those
are the things.
And the rest of the car.
Yeah, you're always going to have to update the brakes and the tires.
It's like $100,000, I was thinking.
That'll get you back to where you need
yeah,
to be.
you know, like people say, if I just had like $1 million,
now
like
just $100K.
Yeah, it's just like $100,000
before taxes or after taxes?
After taxes. Yeah, I could
Maybe
get
like 130,
get some of the bad
140.
debt out of the way, and then I could probably just ride out the string to graduation, to retirement.
It's retirement when you're in Florida with your soulmate.
Soak it up in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Okay, so Joshua
Is that asking
Farmer,
too much?
the latest.
Mr. Kraft?
The fourth round has ended. We're now in the fifth round. The Patriots are at 146.
This must be what it is here.
And now we're at pick 130, 140.
Yeah, Fred, here's your thing with the
the
T-shirts.
CCT.
So what does it mean, though?
It's a person.
Something from Nolans?
I think it's all over the league. That's Indy.
It's not for Shador.
So maybe
you can see how they stack their board vertically and horizontly. There, you got
Pete Carroll in the shirt. So maybe somebody who is listening to the broadcast can tell us what it means.
We had
who
volume.
is CCT?
Yeah, we would know. Yeah, they had his name up briefly, the picture of
I
the
didn't
person
see
that
it.
it was. Yeah, I'm not sure who he was, though.
Okay.
Looks like a nicer day there in Green Bay.
So as I said, the fourth round is over. We're into the fifth round now. The pick is in for the Panthers at 140. The Patriots are sitting at 146. So it's just a matter of time now before we have our third pick of the
We
day.
have 2 picks in the fifth
Second
round
pick of the
already.
day.
Yeah.
Third pick of the day.
Third pick of the
So
day.
they have 146 and 171 in the fifth round,
Right.
and then 220 to round
Yeah.
out the draft.
So we've picked a safety. We've picked a defensive tackle or sort of
Well, we'll
lineman.
call him a defensive lineman.
I think he's just an interior.
So
player.
Elliott talked about going defense on day 3, and so far, that's what they're
I mean,
doing.
look, I'm gonna be consistent. Like, I do like that they drafted defense, but again, like, my concern is just pass rush, and not that you're gonna have elite pass rushers here as we get into the fifth round. It's not really,
it doesn't matter now, Deuce.
Yeah,
Give
well,
it
it
up.
doesn't matter.
Give
So-
it up.
Probably missed your run, though, because you guys, you and Evan seem to be talking about a different edge guy there in the middle of that fourth round every
Well, that's
pick,
fair.
it seemed.
And you know, look, last
but
year.
they traded, so maybe, if
They're
they'd gotten a
trying
little
to
bit
get
more aggressive, they
their
could have
guys.
traded up a little higher. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly not a pure edge guy. Like, this isn't a screamer off the edge, 2-point stance or anything like that kind of guy. But I do think he's disruptive and uses his length well to just separate from blocks, and has good upper body twitch and strength to be able to shed and do those types of things on the interior. And they are going to be a 4-down defense. They're going to play a lot of traditional 4-3, if you want to call it that, and they're going to need linemen that can play with their hand in the dirt, and that's certainly what Farmer is. I think he can play some end as well as play some defensive tackle, play some 3 technique. But I like his versatility up and down the line of scrimmage a lot. He's not going to be all the way outside the tackle, rushing off the edge. That's not going to be his game.
Let's go to the phones while we wait for the Patriots pick here in the fifth round. Q is in Atlanta. What's up, Q?
Hey, I got some caller smoke.
Okay,
for,
nice.
Christian in LA, but this is more for all the Twitter GMs and everyone that this player can't do this and this player can't do that before they even hit the field. Guys, just please stop it. You guys are not GMs. You're not coaches. You don't talk to scouts. Those guys to stop it. At least let these guys get on the field, see what they can do first. And then secondly, what do you think that we should do at kicker? I don't know if you guys remember when Mike Vrabel kind of hinted that he's had kind of bad luck with kickers. Do you think they go with a kicker today if one of them goes undrafted, or do you think they go with Matt Gay? Thanks, guys.
Okay, kicker. It's definitely a need, right?
They'll definitely add one to the roster. I don't know if they'll draft one or if they just sign one, but they're not going to go with just the kid that finished the season on the practice squad, Parker Romo.
Yeah, there are some draftable kickers in this draft.
Guy from Miami, right?
Better Call Sauls is out there. Ben Sauls, Andre Borregales is from Miami. Ryan Fitzgerald from Florida State are the 3 guys that I think most people believe are draftable. And maybe with that 7th round pick, they traded 238, their very last 7th round pick, but they held on. They still currently have 220. So you wonder if that pick might be earmarked for one of those kickers to take one of those guys. But Borregales is considered the best kicker in the draft. He's the most consistent within 50 yards. But he's might go a little bit earlier than that. Like the 5th round tends to be a specialist round, and I could see him coming soon. But Fitzgerald, all three of these guys, they worked out all three of them. So they've showed some interest in all of the kickers.
I believe they'll draft one. Just listening to Jeremy Springer a couple weeks ago, it seems like they're taking this very seriously, trying to find the next kicker, trying to find some stability long-term at that position, which is something they haven't had. I guess Nick Folk was here, and that was fairly consistent. Not here that long, but he was a consistent kicker for him. But I think it's a goal of this organization to get some stability back in that position. They could wait till undrafted and sign one of these guys, but
That's
think
what I would
how
do.
they've talked about it seems like they might see a guy want him and just.
Tim in California fills us in on the shirts. The Colts on Saturday honored Coral Turpinning, the late wife of Colts director of college scouting Matt Turpinning, by having staff in their draft room wear shirts reading "Your light lives lives in on all of us" during the 5th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. She died on April 12th in Louisville while attending a volleyball tournament with her daughters.
Oh.
Those looking to honor Turpinning's legacy can donate to the Hamilton County Human Society. You can read her obituary. Okay, so there's links. But that's the story behind the shirts.
Wow, that's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you notice as soon as the 5th round started, it seemed like teams started putting those shirts on.
Yep. Cynthia says, we can get the kicker from the UFL. Ask Barth.
That's
so good. I'm good.
I'll leave the kickers in the UFL.
The
up
only,
to Barth.
I'm not going to get into the individual one, but I would just say in terms of draft, not draft, if there's one guy that they've identified, this is the guy we have to have, then draft him.
Yeah.
My guess is that's not the case.
Yeah.
And you just figure out who's left, and then be aggressive and sign one.
Yeah.
Offer the opportunity to compete for the
I mean,
starters.
I asked Jeremy Springer when we talked to him, when was that? A couple months ago now. And I said, do you guys see draftable kickers? Do you have draftable grades on any kickers? And he said, draftable and undrafted. And he made a point to mention that they've also been looking at guys that they project as rookie free agents as well. So I think they are. He made it sound like they're comfortable going either way. If it ends up being a UDFA, they're prepared for that.
Yep.
I'm good either way. If they like one enough to draft them, then draft
Yeah.
them. Don't leave it for chance.
It's the 5th round, the spot. Isn't there like a history of drafting kickers in the 5th round? Isn't it?
Sam Howell got traded.
Who?
Sam Howell.
From the Seahawks? Is that
Yeah.
what it was?
Yeah, he was with Seattle.
Yeah, now he's in Minnesota.
Okay.
Oh, that makes sense for both teams.
Well, that might be
Seattle
kind of
had a bit of a glut there.
Good friends with Drake May, right? And maybe if there's joint practices this year at Minnesota,
Oh,
that might be a
nice.
little something.
Look at that. You have a little something to
Little content.
So they have that.
Friends.
So
They're
Drake,
very
you
good.
know him,
They
right?
could high five maybe.
No,
or-
Like
no, they're
big-
like best friends.
Your
Like, super
banner is
tight.
right next to mine at the stadium.
like vacation together tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That close?
Yeah.
Let's see. Walker writes in from Berkshire County. The skill set of these draft picks are strikingly different than previous years. I'm excited. Vrabel really understood that the offense needed the first 4 picks. Henderson and Williams are surely electric. Offensive line improves vastly. McDaniels is back. This is most certainly an LFG moment for Patriots Nation. And by the way, this whole Sanders saga is so interesting, I can't help myself. It started as a humbling experience, and now it's turning into this. It's funny and terrible. Drama at its finest. So many layers, so much drama. Never seen anything like this.
I agree.
I haven't either. I mean, geez, we're in the 5th round now, which just makes you think.
I think it's unprecedented.
Yeah, it's not just about the player, on the field, what he did.
Yep.
Hey, is that Germany?
Yeah.
Is that yes?
No, is it?
No.
They can't
No,
be in Germany.
España.
Oh, Spain.
España. They're in Madrid.
Yeah.
Very different.
That's right. The Dolphins
So
are
we're
playing
getting a
in
little
Madrid. They haven't
international.
announced who they're playing yet, right?
No. I
No.
don't think
No.
so.
So that's the schedule. What they announced, the schedule is going to come out, May 14th, I think, was that what the date was? So
That's what they're saying, yeah.
Phillips.
yeah.
Good player.
Didn't the
that's
Dolphins
one I
have
like,
another
too.
guy named Jordan Phillips at one point?
There's another Jordan
Yeah,
Phillips. I don't know if he was.
No, he was on the
he was-
Bills at least twice.
Yeah.
I think
on
he
the
was on
Bills.
the. I thought he was on the Dolphins. Yeah.
He might have been. Cup of coffee.
So Miami's pick at 143. Patriots are sitting at 146. So we're getting closer.
Yeah, just a few picks. He was one of my big board guys.
Yeah.
It was the same kind
He
of.
started
thing,
his career in Miami.
Yeah.
I liked. I could see them. Farmer and Phillips are a little similar. Farmer's longer. I think that's sort of what tipped me towards him a little bit. Has a little bit more length and ability to get off blocks as a result. I like both of them, though. I thought Phillips was a fun player to watch, too.
Trade alert.
Walter, in Ukraine,
Cleveland.
When was the last draft results for the Patriots that we were this excited about?
I don't really remember.
Before my time.
Yeah, not since I started covering the team. Like, I have to go back to when Belichick was
2012.
Yeah, when he was on a roll. You know,
I was pretty jacked. Those two first-round picks.
Yeah.
That might be one.
Jones and Hightower. I mean, you really just remade the front of the defense with that first round of that draft.
Ryan in Colorado wants to know, with Jared being a physical freak, any chance he can play some fullback if he loses a center battle?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe some unbalanced line. You know, six offensive linemen. I don't know if he has any experience running out of the backfield, but I could see him playing on the end of the line as a jumbo tight end, muscle tight end.
I'm really intrigued by him. Like, he wasn't a guy I spent much time, in passing, looked at, just his blurbs, but just like I said at the top, the combination of size and athleticism, just really intriguing. You're only scratching the surface. 1-year starter. You don't even know what he possibly could be, but he has all the traits that you're looking for at that position. And again, to just stress the size of it. Like, there's so many monstrous interior players. When we talk all the time about the guys that like Coltrane struggle with, to have that kind of size in the middle, I think would be a real benefit for the offense.
Yeah.
Let's get to the phones. We'll go to.
Oh, hold please.
Uh-oh.
Are we on the clock again?
That Cleveland Browns trade at 144 overall to select. Anyone?
Shador Sanders.
Oh,
and it stopped.
So the Browns did, in fact, finally get Shador Sanders.
So they took Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders.
They took Dylan Gabriel.
So they took Dylan Gabriel first, when most people had Shador as the better prospect than Dylan Gabriel. So now they took two backup quarterbacks, essentially. But good for Shador. Good for him.
I'm glad he got drafted,
me too.
and I'm glad we can finally stop. But it is kind of interesting. Like, Dylan Gabriel, if they didn't take Dylan Gabriel, I'd say, wow, Cleveland really worked this to perfection.
I know,
You got a guy that someone thought they could have taken with the second pick of the draft in the 5th round.
Yeah.
So it sounds
like
like
double dip it, backup quarterback. I don't know.
It's fascinating. Like, he's just the third string behind another rookie. Like, I mean, you guys know how these things, like, reps are divvied up a certain way. Like, all these.
Yeah. I mean, it's not quite as. He didn't have quite as big of a fall, but it reminds me of Malik Willis. Like, that's why I pulled it up. But Malik Willis went in the 3rd round. He went 86th overall. But there was a ton of talk that Malik Willis in 2022 was going to go number 1 overall in the draft, and he ended up falling all the way to the 3rd round. It's very similar to me in terms of the hype from the media of what everyone thought the player was going to be, and then where the player ended up actually going is similar to me to Malik, but even later for Shador.
Also, the fact that they traded to get into the spot is interesting to me. Cleveland.
Maybe they thought Philly or
San now Fran you have to have him.
Is going to take him?
You had all those chances to take him, and you were telling everybody.
Right.
You didn't care. It's an interesting trade for me.
Okay, so Cleveland takes Shador Sanders.
I mean, the
after
drama.
all.
I can't wait to see what he has to say, how they roll him out.
I'm not ruling out that Shador goes on and has a serviceable NFL career as a starter. Like, I know going in the 5th round makes it sound like there's no chance of that happening because it very seldom does. But I don't rule it out with him that he could actually end up going to having a decent career.
And who's the Browns quarterback right now?
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett, yeah.
Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shador Sanders is their depth chart. Right? So, I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of starting, like how this is all started off. I'm so curious to watch how it unfolds. I mean, knowing last year, not entirely same situation, but just what we talked about with Drake May and Joe Milton in the same building in the same draft class, and
I just think Pittsburgh lost an opportunity. I think you had the best of both worlds. You can get that guy who might turn out to be something developmental wise without having to use a significant pick. I just feel like that was a lost opportunity for them.
Let's go to the podium and hear the reaction to the announcement.
Right on the clock. They passed on Shador 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and including the selection of Dylan Gabriel last night, 94, to complete the Heisman Trophy finalist quartet from Manhattan being drafted in this draft. The other.
So they.
Listen to the reaction. The reaction in the draft hall says it all.
They got caught. They didn't know.
They didn't know.
They didn't know she was going to do it.
And by we, I'm including every human on the screen, every single person who's been watching our draft coverage, and anyone else's.
Praise
We
the
appreciate
Lord.
your and viewership.
Fifth-round draft pick.
Shador Sanders just went.
Well,
He went to the
listen.
team that could have had him
Maybe
6
if you're a
times
fan, you think you just got the steal of the draft.
Yeah, I can hear that.
You know, like based on the pre-draft analysis, you can make that case very easily.
Yeah.
That this was the absolute steal of the draft.
I'm sure Shador Sanders thinks that he is.
It's a fair point. Like I definitely feel like he was docked in multiple rounds from whatever happened in the pre-draft process from January to now. You know, whether it was the interviews, whether it was Dion, whatever it was, I think it docked him at least a couple of rounds easily. So you might feel like, you know, would you feel a lot different as a Browns fan, you know, if you drafted him in the 2nd or 3rd round than in the 5th? Probably. And if you think that he probably should have gone in the 2nd or 3rd round instead, then you feel like you might have gotten a guy.
The only thing I'd be upset now if I was a Browns fan is, well, we could have had another player instead of
Gabriel.
That's right.
Yeah, the Gabriel pick was strange. It's more strange now, but it was strange when they made it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's like he's really small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabriel.
So.
And he's lefty.
Oh, ew.
He's fast, though. He's a good runner.
Nobody likes that. Patriots are on the clock.
Yeah, Patriots on the clock. Eagles pick is in. What do you think? Sticking with defense here?
Tight end?
I think tight end's a good call.
Tight end?
I think tight end's a good call.
What tight end's left now?
There are some tight ends left. Gadsden from Syracuse is left. Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame, who's coming off that injury. C.J. Dupree, Thomas Fidone. But Mitchell Evans, I think, is really interesting if they do go tight end. I have no idea if they will, but if they do, he had the torn ACL in 23, so last year was the first year back from the ACL. So you hope that, you know, maybe with some space in between it, then you know, he'll be the player he was before the ACL injury. He was thought of as a guy that was going to go pretty high when he was coming out and developing at Notre Dame. Mac McWilliams is a good pick by Philadelphia.
Eagles. So you just thought you don't even have to look at the team.
Yeah.
You see the players come up that you know at this stage of the draft, and you're like, well, Baltimore took him.
I could have seen the Patriots taking him.
You know.
So I'm not surprised that the Eagles took him in the pick before the Patriots. But Woodson, I think, maybe ruled that out. You know, taking kind of a nickel safety already. They probably weren't going to double up on that. But I really liked Mac McWilliams at the Senior Bowl.
Talked a lot about him.
Yeah, scrappy player, really good cover corner.
Yeah.
Can play in the slot, probably at the NFL level.
Let's see. Connor writes in, not only did the Browns draft Dylan Gabriel before Shador Sanders, but they also traded out of Travis Hunter. I can't stand Dion and all the hype and nonsense around this whole thing, but I hope Shador can find success after this. Maybe he's humbled and a little embarrassed and can turn it into motivation. The Browns, as always, make head-scratching decisions.
Yeah, okay. I like everything they did except for the Gabriel pick. Like I can be absolutely talked into the trade that they made early in the draft, and I know I'm in the minority, and that's okay. You got the ability to get a developmental quarterback anyway. I think they could have gotten a player that might have been able to help them instead of Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they had to have thought that Shador wasn't going to be here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the only thing.
This is hindsight because you don't know at the time, but I just thought that Gabriel was Gabriel to me was a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
If you were going to do that.
I agree.
He's so small. And he was very productive in college.
Yeah.
He was good at all 3 schools that he played at. He was a good player.
Yeah.
I think he started at UCF, right? And then he went to Oklahoma and then Oregon. He's a good college player. I just think he's going to be too small.
Yeah. That's
the Patriots pick is in. So we'll hear what it is momentarily.
Yeah, if I might, just sharing a quick story that Alex, if I may, Alex shared looking up a little into Joshua Farmer. He lost both his parents by the time he turned 11. His father died when he was 2 after complications from a botched stomach surgery. His mother passed away from a brain aneurysm. He was raised by his grandmother and older siblings. So a lot of adversity there for him. Long track. It's just you like these stories, you realize what it means to get to this point.
Yeah. I think it was it Elliott who was in his press conference talking about Henderson, saying that he had a lot of adversity?
I think so.
Do we know what that was?
I'd have to look. I'm not sure.
Yeah, probably the Beast it has it.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys have stories that, required them to overcome something that, lesser people wouldn't be able to overcome. So, all right. So the Patriots pick is in. We should be getting it any time now. I'm checking my phone.
Any day now.
Okay. Yeah, I think Deuce is gonna like this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Deuce is gonna like this one.
How much am I gonna like it? Am I gonna like?
Yeah.
How much can you like the 146 pick?
Oh, I can like.
Well,
it.
if I had him on the big board, then I'll really like him. And if I don't have him,
I'm hoping he's on the big board because I want to see my
pick is in.
Oh, Braden Swinson.
I want to see Mike Happy. Even Paul likes this one.
Yeah, so this is a real edge rusher, right? So they're really
I'm happy.
Tapping that class for Deuce over there. So
I like it.
Speed to power rusher, good thickness, 6'3", 255. Another guy with longer, arms, above average length, over 33 inches. And I just look at him as somebody that can really get extended and convert speed to power coming off the edge, and had a really great production last year at LSU. 60 total quarterback pressures at LSU last year, and 31 stops in 2024 against the run. So productive player. Physical player, I would say, has that burst and that energy off the snap to be able to win with pure speed. But I think he's at his best, pressing the pocket with his power and his length. I thought that he was going to go much higher than this. A lot of people had him projected in the top 100 of this draft. So you wonder there what was the situation.
Exactly 100 for the Beast.
I don't know if there's an injury there or something like that pushed him down the board. But like I said, 60 total pressures in college in 12 games that's a lot. That's getting after the quarterback. So you want a pure edge rusher, a guy that can really get after the QB outside the tackle and win and pressure the QB that way. That this is it. They got him.
Got to know Will Campbell pretty well. I imagine there were some good battles there. In practice. So this is good. I like what they're doing. Acknowledging day 3, these are flyers, but still the traits are there. I think it would have been a mistake to get through this edge class and not take at least one of these guys coming from a big program. So it's funny how these things work, right? Where like all offense.
Oh, just how the board fell. Oh, please.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it's day 3. We all should keep that in perspective, but I really thought that Swinson had upside to be a potential starter in the league. Like a lot of people had him in their top 100s, third round pick territory. Like usually when you draft a guy in the 3rd round, you're thinking that maybe that guy could develop into a starter. So this is what I've been talking about with the depth of the edge class. Some of these guys just got pushed down the board here pretty significantly, and he was kind of the last one of the run here, and the Patriots get him. So good stuff.
Let's get to the phones. We'll clear them out before we say goodbye for today. Scott's and Dudley. What's up, Scott?
How you doing, gentlemen? Thanks for your service today.
Sure.
So I have a couple different things. First thing I was going to ask about is our defensive line or front 7. Most of these guys are strong on the pass rush, but I don't know how strong they are on the run. What's your take on potentially getting somebody, I know they just got Farmer, but getting a little bit more heft in the middle to make sure you don't get run on?
I mean, I feel pretty good where they're at right now. Between Tonga and Farmer, you have some size there to play with. You've got a lot of holdover guys in there too. I don't know if they'll get anything out of Jeremiah Farms or Eric Johnson or Jaquelin Roy or Marcus Harris or Titus Leo. They have a bunch of names there. But in terms of the guys that they've drafted and actually signed, I feel okay. I think I'm kind of in the Paul camp of we'll figure out how to stop the run.
Well, I think Tonga was acquired with that kind of thing in mind. They needed a big space eater.
There's always those 330-pound guys, if you're
Godchow,
really
they let go.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, I mean, he's right. They got run on last year. I keep saying the defense was just as bad as everything else last year.
Paul says, worry about the run on your own time.
To some extent,
kind of.
But I think if you have, you can find big fatties to put in the middle. I think there's always they're always finding the Carl Davises of the world, or those kind of guys. So
but there are those times where we get frustrated because they're getting run over.
Well, I mean, but I would honestly say I think some of their run problems last year was as much about having linebackers that can't get to the ball, can't get off blocks, can't get through blocks, can't get around blocks. And,
just ask Gotcha.
Right.
He'll tell you.
Let's go to Rio in Texas.
Janeiro.
What's up, Rio?
Hey, gentlemen. Appreciating the coverage here, enjoying day 3, some nice picks. And one in particular really got my mind turning when they took Joshua Farmer. To me, he's a hybrid guy, and my comp for him that came up right away was Red Bryant in Seattle. And I'm wondering, this is going to be a little bit more for the ball knower crowd, and maybe Mike, because he loves his defense. But do you see them maybe trying to bring in some of the principles of that Seattle cover 3? Because now you've got a guy that can play that big end. You've got your explosive 3 technique. You've got a bunch of guys. They drafted Swinson, and he'd be in that Leo role. And then you got a couple box safeties where they can really get them down close to the line of scrimmage and force the run while keeping some athleticism on the field.
Throwing around the jargon.
They're trying to recreate that a little bit.
I followed it all. I felt pretty good about that. I just know the league's moved away from that cover 3 defense. There's a lot more match quarters, that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure as in terms of what kind of coverages they're primarily going to be running. It's a good question. I'd especially tie in the safeties to that. I don't know how they plan on balancing that out. Do they have that true free safety, the Earl Thomas type, who's just going to play back there? I don't know. I don't see it quite one for one. Again, I know the league's gotten away from that style of defense. Even Pete Carroll was getting away from it at the end. So I guess it's not the end. He's renewed now.
He's back. He's back, baby.
But no, it's a really good question, and something I'm fascinated to see, because even last year you had the same safety coaches and defensive back coaches. You had a lot of the same coverage philosophies, I would say. Do those change? We'll see.
They're going to be an up the field defense. We've definitely talked about that, and they're going to be a 4-3. They're going to get up the field. Swinson, I think, will be more of a third down situational pass rusher. We've talked a lot about Chazon today as maybe in that role for 25, but maybe you hope that Swinson can either push him or maybe be a long-term play there in that type of role for them. But I don't know if they'll necessarily go Seattle 3. That's not really what Vrabel was doing in Tennessee, but I think they're going to play a lot of man coverage in New England. I think they're going to play a ton of man.
All right. Well, listen, 2.5 hours on day 3.
So much bonus coverage.
Into round 5. Patriots went all defense today. There's a lot more coming on Patriots.com for the rest of the day and the Patriots social accounts. So stay tuned for that. 2 more picks. 2 more picks
still to come.
Yep. So thanks, everyone, for watching, for listening. Thanks, Matt Morrell. Thanks, everyone in the back there, Anthony Marini, everybody else that was involved with the show, Patriots PR staff for getting us the information. And we will be back on Tuesday, right? Our normal time, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see you next Tuesday. Patriots draft. We're all excited. Let's go.
Let's go.
Hey, this is Fred. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure that you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube page to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.